Let's get peppy. Welcome to PEP 263. That's Planet Extra Podcast. I'm Chad Fitzgerald, host of Planet America on ABC Australia, and this is an official podcast of the ABC, so say hi to the Ombudsman for me. On PEP, we cover all the stuff that's too nerdy for TV. If you're listening, you can find us on YouTube and Facebook at Planet PEP, and you can find highlights there as well. You also find timestamps and show notes in our blurbs, and if you leave a comment on our current episode video, we're likely to see it. Do not forget to subscribe for all that peppy goodness. It all helps. You can also tweet us on Blue Skies at PEPCHASDRDAVE. That's at Pep Chaz Dr. Dave. If you want to chat to some fellow peppers, you can join our Discord server. It's on the screen now or in the blurb of the podcast. But if you want to contact me or Lockie the Lackey privately, why not email us? The address is producer@pepthepodcast.com. The address again is producer@pepthepodcast.com. And I am replying to them as well, slowly but surely. And we are recording this at 2:16 p.m. on Thursday, the 28th of May, or 12:16 a.m. on the said Thursday on the east coast of America. But for now, let's turn to the man who simply will not raise the stakes in inconsequential views. I speak, of course, of Dr. Pepper himself, Dr. David Smith. Was that fast enough for you, Dr. Dave?
We were just speaking to someone who said that he listens to Pep at 2.5 times the speed.
That's exactly why I just did that, just to screw him up.
Listening to that at 2.5 times the speed. Well, that would answer the age-old question of what would happen if we took the chipmunks and never allowed them to sleep. I'm David Smith. I'm an associate professor at the US Studies Centre at the University of Sydney, but I do not speak for either of those institutions. When I do PEP, I speak only on behalf of myself. And on behalf of myself, just a shout out to Pepper Rachel, who I met while walking here today. Great to meet you, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. Hello. What are you grateful for, Dave?
I am grateful for the enhanced games.
Ah, yes. I predicted this would happen.
Yeah.
Like 15 years ago, by the way. Ask Kirsten. I did.
So the enhanced games, they took place in Las Vegas over the weekend. For those of you who are not familiar with what they are, so it's the brainchild of an Australian businessman called Aaron D'Souza, who I think was best known for actually engineering Peter Thiel's strategy to bankrupt Gawker. Oh. But he withdrew from it under I don't know what kind of circumstances last year. And so the face of it has been a German businessman called Christian Angermeyer. Not just any businessman, he is a billionaire. The Washington Post kind of had a gushing profile of him over the weekend where they said he's 48 years old, but he looks 10 years younger.
I wonder why.
Now, for those of you watching on YouTube, this is a picture of him.
Oh, wow.
We'll let you decide whether he looks 10 years younger. I would say whatever age he is, he looks like someone who is trying to look 10 years younger than whatever age he is. So he is a big proponent of performance-enhancing drugs.
I reckon he looks like the youngest leather handbag I've ever seen. Go on, sorry.
And not just performance-enhancing drugs, but a whole kind of, performance-enhancing routine to life. You know the type that we're talking about, the type of person you basically never, ever want to get stuck talking to. The idea of the enhanced games was they were going to lure well-known athletes with huge amounts of cash because there is some serious money behind this.
Thank you, Lockie, for removing that photo.
Money from people like Peter Thiel, because what the enhanced games really is advertising for the whole industry of easily available performance-enhancing drugs.
Yes.
That is what it's supposed to be. So the whole idea was they would pay athletes a lot of money. They would allow them to dope pretty much as they wanted within certain guidelines. My understanding is there were certain drugs that they were allowed to use, but within those drugs they could use however much of it they wanted.
Okay.
So what they got was this weird combination of athletes whose peak was many years ago and were, looking for another shot. Some athletes who actually decided that they wanted to compete clean but would nonetheless get the money anyway. And then some athletes who were really, really setting out to break world records with the assistance of performance-enhancing drugs. And so the way that this was marketed was world records are going to tumble. at the performance-enhancing games. There were only 3 sports that were actually represented. They were what are sometimes referred to as pure performance sports. So there was running, there was swimming, and there was weightlifting.
Right.
So sports where it is really just about getting as much out of the body as possible.
And you'd think, I don't know the ins and outs of it because I've been
Yeah.
too busy prepping for this bloody podcast. But you would assume, logic would say that running, swimming,
Yeah.
not necessarily going to be helped by juicing because that just makes you bigger.
Yeah.
Right? But weightlifting, you'd think that would be helped by drugs.
Yes. Anyway, so
what happened?
You might be asking at this point, why are you actually grateful for this? This just sounds appalling. The reason why I'm grateful for it was because this was the most single disappointing event in the history of sports. Okay. There was one world record that was unofficially broken.
Was it weightlifting?
No, it wasn't. No,
was
it
it?
was actually a 50 meters swimming event. I can't remember which stroke. Broken by a Greek swimmer called Christian Golomev, but he had already unofficially broken it once, just in a lap that he was doing by himself. So it was just a retread of that. 3 swimming events were actually won by athletes who were competing clean.
Yeah,
and that became a frequent
surprise.
theme of the weekend. The 2 100 metres events that were run by athletes who were competing clean, including Fred Curley, who's an American Olympic champion who is currently banned from the Olympics, not because he was found to have taken drugs, but because he missed drug tests. And he basically said that he just turned up to win and talk trash to all the people who were actually taking drugs, which is what he said. You've all got to get your shit together because you're clearly not good enough.
Did he smash him?
Oh, yeah. He smashed him. And the only Australian I'm aware of who was competing is someone you might remember from the 2012 Olympics. That is swimmer James Magnussen. Now, James Magnussen, back in those days, pulled off a feat which very, very few Australian athletes have ever managed, which is to be the world champion of a sport and still be hated by Australia. He wasn't just hated by Australia, he was hated by his own team. At the London Olympics, other Australian swimmers were actively cheering for him to lose.
You make a good point about his teammates.
Yeah.
And importantly, it doesn't really matter if you're the world champion for Australians. It matters if you're the Olympic champion. And he didn't win the Olympics.
He did not win. He did not win the Olympics. Yeah. No, the only other Australian athlete I've ever seen to get so high in his own sport and just still be so widely disliked was Leighton Hewitt. But anyway, so yeah, James Magnussen ate it. He came 4th out of 4 in both of his events because there weren't actually that many competitors at this thing.
Yeah, I saw that the pools were very small.
Yeah.
It was like a backyard pool. It didn't feel like an Olympic size pool.
Yeah. It was somewhere on the remote north of the Strip in Vegas. So anyway, the organisers of this event have vowed that it will continue, and it probably will because there does seem to still be quite a lot of money in it, even though shares in Enhanced Incorporated fell by 40% as a result of the Enhanced Games.
So those running sponsorships during it? Was it just like Alex Jones? Were they just going on and on about vitamins and injections?
Totally. Yeah. The ad was all for various performance-enhancing drugs and supplements and things that can be found in telehealth services. Oh, the other thing is the one swimmer who did break a world record, he was also using one of those super suits that's been banned for 15 years. Yeah. So was James Magnussen, not that it helped him very much. Yeah.
I suppose he could fit in the super suit.
Yeah.
He's pretty big.
So anyway, the reason why I loved just seeing this whole event just eat it is because it's fundamentally anti-human. And it is the same brand of anti-humanism that the tech industry is really fostering. And the basic concept behind it is it pretends to be all about unlocking human potential and like celebrating the ability of humans to conquer the universe. But that's not what it's really about at all. The basic message is humans as currently constituted are worthless. We are absolutely just worthless, miserable excuses. We don't even deserve to be vertebrates, frankly. and that the only thing that can save us is the tech industry and the way that it is going to enhance us. Only the tech industry can create the new man that is going to go out and conquer space and truly unlock human potential, right? So it is that kind of anti-humanism that is what this is all about. And so I was very, very pleased to see the likes of Fred Curley just walking in there and basically reminding them that no, what sport is all about is the glorious variety of the human body. Sport is the domain of the genuine freaks. And that is what was proven this weekend.
I'm just glad there's one more thing that we can all hate watch on the internet now.
Yes.
That's what the internet needs. More hate watching. Okay, let me tell you what I'm grateful for. I've got a few things. I'm grateful, first of all, to the Pepper who mailed me a carton of my favourite drink, which I can no longer name because I'd be giving it a full endorsement. And this is the ABC, so I can't do that. Even though it is the nectar of the gods, this drink. Thank you very much, Pepper. And I couldn't find any place where you took credit for it. I don't know who you are, this mystery Pepper. The Peppers, they work in mysterious ways. Thank you very much, whoever you are. Also, thank you to the many Peppers, like Christopher, for instance, so Christopher had a name, who pointed out 24 hours after Colbert's Late Show wrapped, he went and made an hour of really solid comedy on a public access TV show called Only in Monroe. It's on YouTube, the whole hour. There'll be a link in the homework. You can have a look if you haven't seen it. It's gone viral, so you probably have seen it. But if you haven't, you should watch it. It's really, really good. I would thoroughly recommend it. It kicks the ass of his Late Show, I've got to say. It was really good. I'd love to know when he wrote some of those jokes.
Is that Monroe, Michigan?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's public access TV.
Okay, yes, yeah.
I doubt he wrote all that in 23 hours. There's a lot of writing there. So I think he worked on that while the show was on, which is even better.
That's great.
It's I think it's classic Colbert. It's really good stuff. It makes me very excited what he has coming up. Thank you, Peppers, for pointing that out because I didn't know until one of you pointed it out to me. Also, I want to send a big grateful. This is my main grateful to the South Carolina State Senate. Now, you might have heard this. I mean, isn't everyone thanking the South Carolina State Senate these days? Ever since the Supreme Court's Calais ruling, southern states have been rushing to try to gerrymander their states even more. A lot of the southern states have at least one, sometimes two majority-minority districts that they were forced to put there by the Voting Rights Act back in the day to make sure that, we've talked about this a number of times, to make sure that black people, if there's, say, 20 or 30% of the state, have the ability to pick a member of their choosing. Now, the Calais ruling just now from the Supreme Court got rid of that. And so they've had, the southern states have had the opportunity to get rid of these gerrymanders. And those majority-minority districts, which is a majority of a racial minority, they're almost always Democratic because black in particular and Hispanic voters to a lesser extent tend to support Democrats. And so it's in the Republicans' interests, political interests, to get rid of them as fast as they possibly can. So they have more seats in the House. And a lot of them have jumped to do that. So Tennessee did it straight away. Louisiana did it straight away. In South Carolina, the legislature was not interested in doing it. They thought it was too late in the process. They were right up to their primary. They also thought it was risky because, as we always say, whenever we talk about this, if you maximize the number of seats on your side, it spreads out your opponent's vote more and it increases the chances that in a good election for them, they might steal extra seats from you. That's called a dummy mander. Anyway, the South Carolina legislature tried to get away without redistricting this election. They tried to put it off to the next election. But then Trump came over the top, of course, and started pressuring the governor in South Carolina, Henry McMaster. And McMaster buckled. He called a special session for the state legislature to focus on redistricting. This time, the House gave in. The state House gave in. They narrowly voted to redistrict a new map where South Carolina would lose its only majority-minority district. That's James Clyburn's district. And they would then be 100% Republicans in the House from South Carolina. But yesterday, the state Senate voted 24-20 to resist. 12 Republicans. Across the floor, they stood firm on this one. And they then went on a recess till after the primaries are over. So that's it. It's done. And I think that is incredible because those people were under massive pressure.
They were.
That would have been really hard for us to imagine, I think. Trump just now single-handedly got 5 Indiana reps primaried for doing exactly the same thing. These guys had seen that happen, and they did it again anyway. These state senators have basically chosen to lose their next primary because Trump will still be around. He's not going to forget. He never forgets this kind of stuff. And over what? What is this all over? 1 seat? 1 seat which has nothing to do with them anyway. Why do they care? They might as well just save their own seat. But no, they didn't. There's nothing in it for these state senators. Nothing at all. Turning off their own side means they're not going to get any favors from any of them in the future. They're going to become, they're going to be, they will be, have a black mark on their name from now on in their region because of this. There's nothing in it for them. They get no applause. The only people who know they exist, I don't even know their names. The only people who even knows they exist are the people who want to destroy them. They're the ones who know their names. The only thing they're gaining is the satisfaction of knowing they did the right thing. And so, for instance, Richard Cash, State Senator, there's a name, State Senator Richard Cash. Neither my conscience nor my common sense will allow me to stop an election that's already underway. It's hard to argue with, unless you're a hack. But I'm just so impressed by this at a time when everyone across the board is locked in a spiral of escalation. That they're resisting. They've got the moral clarity to resist. And that, I think, is worth acknowledging. I don't want to go over the top here. South Carolina is still heavily gerrymandered.
Yes, it is.
These guys aren't Nelson Mandela, but it's not as gerrymandered as it could be because of them. So I want to recognise that. In particular, one speech has gone semi-viral amongst nerds. It's a 49-minute stemwinder by South Carolina Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey. Now, I'm going to put it in the homework. You can watch the whole 49 minutes if you want. I've got to say, it's a pretty long 49 minutes. I didn't watch the whole lot. I watched like 30. I mean, it still made me feel good. I just didn't have the time. He was arguing they should just do the right thing, and I'll play you an excerpt.
Maybe the way to conquer the United States of America is not externally. Maybe it is to incite internal troubles and to have us turn on ourselves. Maybe it includes declaring your neighbors, your political opponents, as enemies of the state. And rather than having a public debate of ideas and allowing the public to decide, maybe it means just putting the boot down on the minority. I hear those who say they would do it to you. We've all heard that. If the Democrats were in power and they had the opportunity, they'd do it to you. Maybe. I don't know. We've seen that in other places. I would hope that wouldn't be the case. But I'm not naive. My larger question, though, is that the way it should happen? They do it to you, so you should do it to them? Do unto others as you believe they would do unto you? Is that it? Is that what we teach our children? Does it only apply to children? Right, does it only apply to children? Does it not apply to adults? I don't remember that being the context in the Gospel of Matthew. And I don't think the Messiah meant it only as something to apply to children, but how we interact with each other. I think you do what you know to be right. Sometimes you'll get taken advantage of it. You should do it anyway. You should do it because it's right.
You can see why the speech took 49 minutes.
I was going to say, he's not afraid of silence, that guy.
Well, he's doing it off the top of his head. As you can, if you're watching, you can see he's got one tiny piece of paper to go for 49 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's,
got to say, the South Carolina accent is one of my favourite accents. Although there are multiple South Carolina accents. That is one of them. But yeah, they're all good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially with lots of silence to appreciate it. Now, those who watched the Correspondence Extra and saw me read out a comment from a pepper who was taking the high moral ground on gerrymandering, saying Democrats shouldn't be doing this, might wonder if I feel like Democrats should follow Massey's lead and unilaterally disarm, if I feel so strongly that he's saying the right thing. I do not. And I don't feel hypocritical about that for a number of reasons. But the most important one is Massey is arguing you shouldn't escalate in advance to thwart what you think they would do if they were in your position.
That's a good point, yes.
I agree with that. I don't think the Democrats should be producing a large gerrymandering advantage. And And I would advise them to not do that if they could, which I don't think they can anyway. But if they could, I would say don't do that. You shouldn't make a bad situation worse. But I do think the Democrats should be able to practice self-defense and match what the Republicans have already done.
Yes.
To create a level playing field. I think the Democrats removing the advantages that the Republicans have gained by essentially cheating will reduce the incentives to cheat more.
Yes.
And so I think that makes sense. And
Yes.
I don't think it does contradict what he said at all. And then as soon as they take power, they should then do whatever they can to outlaw cheating by anyone. And I'm not solely blaming Republicans. The Democrats have done plenty of gerrymandering in the past themselves.
Yep.
But right now we know who's driving this
Yes,
train,
we
right?
do.
Anyway, so that's my position. I think that's the shortest path towards actually ending gerrymandering across the board, which is the goal. But still, regardless of your position, I think any option, any time politicians show some humanity and stop acting like dicks, that's good for America generally and rare. So I am grateful to South Carolina State Senate.
All right.
Yeah. I might as well just roll into the first update because it's on redistricting. I've already talked about South Carolina. There's also Alabama.
Yes.
In Alabama, their primary was underway when the Calais ruling came down. But unlike in South Carolina, they were so desperate for an electoral advantage, they actually postponed some of the primaries. But not all the primaries, just some of them. So they're having different primaries at different times. The ones which they thought they could gerrymander further, they've put off. And they continued with the ones they were going to have that they couldn't gerrymander further and in their normal time slot. That's very weird. They had 2 majority-minority districts in their electoral map. They wanted to gerrymander it so they could only have 1 majority-minority district and thus only 1 Democratic district. You might recall 2 weeks ago I had a little tizzy about this, about the Supreme Court allowing them to do that. Because there was already an injunction on Alabama to stop them redrawing that map because of Voting Rights Act reasons, yes. And the Supreme Court said, well, after the Calais decision, we've changed what the Voting Rights Act means. So now your injunction has been lifted. Gerrymander all you like. But that made me angry because the district court had already ruled that the issue here wasn't just the Voting Rights Act. It was that Alabama had intentionally racially discriminated in drawing those boundaries. That's the 14th Amendment, not the
Yes.
Voting Rights Act. So it still applied, even with Calais. And so I got very angry about that. The Calais decision theoretically hadn't changed the fact you're not allowed to intentionally and overtly discriminate against black people. And so when the Supreme Court lifted the injunction and sent the case back to the district court to reconsider in light of Calais, I was annoyed. The update is a 3-judge district court panel has reconsidered Alabama's electoral maps and they've said, thanks, but we're cool, right? We haven't changed our mind. We still think that you racially discriminated when you drew your other map. So you still have to use the map with 2 majority-minority districts. The key quote was, ultimately, we can't see our way clear to requiring Alabamians to cast their votes in the 2026 elections under a districting plan tainted by intentional race-based discrimination. Too bad, Supreme Court. By the way, 2 of the 3 judges, Trump appointed.
Yeah.
So there you go. They're going to appeal it, of course, but surely they've got to run out of time at some point. I mean, we are in the middle of primary season.
I should point out, being a judge who interprets Alabama law, that is a hell of a job.
Yes.
You know why?
Why's that?
So the US Constitution is about 5,000 words long, 7,000 words if you include amendments. The Australian Constitution is about 12,000 words long. The Indian Constitution is 114,000 words long.
How do you carry this in your head?
Which makes sense given that it's the world's biggest democracy.
Yes.
The Constitution of the state of Alabama,
Yeah.
325,000 words long.
How do you carry this in your head?
That is actually from a slide that I show my students in one of my classes.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Great slides. Oh, by the way, I wasn't going to read this out because I
Yep.
don't think we're going to get to it. But this is relevant now.
Yeah.
We did have a pepper.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have their name in front of me because we weren't going to get there.
Yeah.
Who looked up your Rate My Professor results after you dissed the Rate My Professor
Yes.
results, and they're very good.
Oh, really?
You should like Rate My Professor.
I didn't think we had it in Australia.
You are there, mate. And clearly they're all peppers who probably aren't your
I
students.
haven't taken my classes. Thank you.
Because all the comments about how much pep you put in their step. And stuff.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Keep up the ratings, Peppers.
That's great. Okay, well, I was going to say that we'll see how badly the Supreme Court want to score an extra House seat to see if they hear this appeal in time. Because they've really got to work hard to get this in time
Yes.
to change the seats now. The Supreme Court normally wouldn't get to this until next year.
Yeah.
So we'll see how hard they're going to try to generate an extra seat for Alabama and the Republicans. But the net result of all this means the Calais decision might have only cost the Democrats 2 seats in the midterms, Louisiana and Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because Florida was already gerrymandered.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
In the end, a bit of a non-event for 2026. 2028 is when it's going to really start to kick in.
Yes.
Correspondence in the ballroom. Last week, I played you this clip from Christian activist Eric Metaxis in This Is Not Normal. Well, I thought it wasn't very normal. That's why I played it.
It's hard to believe that it would take 2 centuries for the Lord to raise up a great man to bring that ballroom finally to stand where it needs to stand.
I thought that was weird. But Ben set me straight on this one. Mm-hmm. He writes, I am on the Eric Metaxis mailing list.
Oh, wow.
To gauge where the extreme right is on issues relating to Trump's presidency. That's a good pull, that one. That's a good idea. This week I received this email. He attached the email outlining the joke he made about the ballroom. This is very much in character for him, although not particularly funny. But I do believe the comment was his genuine attempt at humour.
Okay.
Not making an excuse for him. I just think it was. I still believe that this incident belongs in This Is Not Normal, as Eric Metaxis is far from normal. But I thought you would appreciate some wider context.
Okay.
So he's saying it's a joke.
Yep.
I'll read you the excerpt from the email.
Please do.
He forwarded. This is from Eric Metaxis. So the other day when I was speaking on the National Mall at Rededicate 250, near the end of my speech, I was obliged to introduce the Tony Award-winning actress Laura Osnes, who was going to sing the Star-Spangled Banner. And of course I had to mention the War of 1812 when it was written and when the British burned the White House. So my dumb joke was that back then, if you can believe it, the White House had no ballroom and we only had to wait 2 centuries for God to raise up a man to build the ballroom. The audience exploded in laughter and obviously got the joke. It was very hot and we needed a laugh. But the profoundly humorless leftists in the mainstream media did not get the joke. Thus followed outraged tweets from TDS poster child David French and his husky ideological twin Alex Jones, plus full articles in the Huffington Post, CNN, People Magazine, and other sagging journalistic organs. Sad. As a member of a sagging journalistic organ, I watched the whole section, not just the clip, and I agree with Ben. It is definitely a joke.
Okay.
I stuffed that up. He was joking. I disagree with you, Ben. That should not have been, and This Is Not Normal. Metaxis is not normal, but that joke was normal, but lame. And that's for Eric Metaxis saying the audience exploded in laughter. No, they did not. I watched the whole section. No explosion, but definitely normal.
I
apologies.
love, though, that even in his explanation of this, he basically says, yeah, this event was pretty lousy. Like, what he describes is not a fun event. It's an event where everyone was hot and annoyed, and he was having to make a speech that he doesn't seem to have wanted to make.
I don't think that they have looked back on that moment or that event as a stunning success, Dave.
No. I mean,
the fact that no one turned up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric Metaxis has an interesting history. So he was one of the many evangelical leaders who was very skeptical of Trump.
He was.
Until he won the election.
Yeah.
And then he actually wrote the foreword to one of the worst books ever written by Charles Brody and David Lamb called The Faith of Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah. That must be a short book.
Well, it was a lot longer than it needed to be. And the thesis of this book was, Trump is actually what evangelicals would call a baby Christian. That is, he's just really at the beginning of his Christian journey.
Oh,
and
is he?
they had this idea, he grew up Presbyterian, but because the Presbyterian church went all woke, of course they didn't teach him the basics of Scripture. And so, he's always had these Christian instincts there. And his father was a good father. He was a lot like John Wayne, and he taught him the right lessons in life. And, basically saying he's going to get there as a Christian.
I'd say he's a baby Christian in terms of maybe he's an Old Testament kind of a guy. He hasn't quite graduated to the New Testament yet. Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting interpretation there from Eric. What is that? Metaxis.
Yes, Metaxis is what I call him.
Okay.
No, his real name is Metaxis.
I quite like that. Metaxis, yeah. Anyway, I apologise to the Metaxis, or if you prefer Dave's way, Metaxis fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't have assumed it was serious.
David French and his ideological husky twin Alex Jones.
Yeah, I didn't have to include that, but I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah.
Housekeeping.
Yes.
I'm going to start experimenting with something on the pod, starting from today.
What's that?
I often record a bit of Unleashed on Friday after I've done more reading.
Yeah.
And there's usually new stuff there, and that's relevant to what we said the day before.
Yep.
But also I include all the stuff I skipped past today because we're in a rush, and there'll be more.
Yeah.
I'm going to experiment with inserting that stuff during the pod. So we'll see how that goes. So during this pod, there's going to be times when we'll just cut and we'll skip forward to tomorrow, add a bit more, and then come back to the pod. Okay. So don't be freaked out when we travel through time, okay? It's going to happen a few times. I don't know when, but it will happen. Hopefully it works for you folks, and it's not too confusing to the pod listeners, but it's coming.
Okay.
Another update for you, Dave. Troops back into Poland update. That's very specific. We spoke a few weeks ago about Trump withdrawing 5,000 troops from Germany. The week after that, America withdrew 5,000 more troops from Poland. We didn't even discuss that.
Well, they didn't withdraw them. They just said we're not sending them on this routine deployment. And that came straight from Hegseth.
It did.
Now, my theory was that some bar in DC refused to serve him any more vodka, and this was an act of retaliation against Poland.
That's as good as any other explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like as you say, they held back a 9-month planned rotation of 5,000 troops, and it just came from Hegseth, and it was weird.
Yeah, it was.
It was weird for a number of reasons. Like Poland have done nothing to offend America.
No.
They've got nothing to do with the Iran war at all.
They're generally on America's side on the Trump administration's side in all of these bullshit culture war issues.
Totally.
Yes.
Trump was a big fan of the president when he got elected last year.
Yeah. Donald Tusk.
No. The new guy. Norinka?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember his name. I think Lockie, you just look it up. I think it's Norinka. The thing which Trump's been going on about with NATO has been the military spending. He's obsessed with how little NATO spend on the military. Poland spend like 4.8% of their GDP on defense.
Poland, I think, has the biggest military in Europe apart from Ukraine.
Yeah.
I think it's even bigger than Germany's.
They've got they spend more on defense as a percentage of GDP than America does.
Yeah.
So Trump loves them. Trump calls them a model ally.
Yes.
Lucky, where we got?
Poland's president is Karol Nawrocki.
We weren't even in the same.
Okay, so I wasn't far off. I just didn't know how to pronounce it. Point is, Trump loves him.
Yeah.
And it seems strange for that reason they took the troops out. As it turns out, Trump thought it was strange as well. According to the Wall Street Journal, he rang up Hegseth and gave him a bawling about it. And this week, he tweeted out, based on the successful election of the now president of Poland, Karol Nawrocki, who I was proud to endorse, and our relationship with him, I am pleased to announce that the United States will be sending an additional 5,000 troops to Poland. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Drink. President Donald J. Trump. He apparently didn't even tell the Pentagon he was going to do that. He just tweeted it out. They're on a tight ship, the White House. Hegseth does whatever he likes, doesn't tell Trump, and then Trump does whatever he likes, doesn't tell Hegseth. Perfect. Well-oiled machine. It also makes no sense. He's sending 5,000 troops now, he says, based on the election of a guy who became president in August last year. Anyway, that's the update. Do you have any thoughts on any of this?
I wonder if Pete Hicks has heard about it yet.
We'll find out in a week's time, I guess. Yeah. As an aside, if you think Trump supporters are against diversity, well, they have taken it to a whole new level.
Oh,
At least one supporter.
let's hear about it.
Because when I pulled that Truth Social post,
Yes.
the first comment was a remarkable picture. It was an AI picture. It was a military-related picture. Have a look. Have a look. This is the top response under Trump's tweet. This photo. Unless I miss my guess there, all the generals there in that picture are the same person. Talk about hating diversity. It's all the same guy in just
you're
different
right.
uniforms. I don't know if Trump's cloning people now, but I'm sure they are all the same guy in that AI picture of Trump with his generals.
Who is that general?
I assume he's just someone that AI dreamed up.
Right.
They probably just typed in.
Result of an AI prompt.
Yeah. They just typed in and just made
Come
sure
up
it's the
with
same guy.
a general. He's got to be white and male and look like he's punched his son in the face at some point.
Yeah, it's a very strange picture. And by the way, there's no comment attached to it. It was just that picture. I don't know why you'd send that to Trump.
For those who can't see it, there was more going on than that. There were a couple of warships in the background, multiple planes.
It looked like from the skies there's some laser coming down, creating like a cross-like effect.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's like Jesus blowing something up with the
like
laser.
a burning cross? Yes. Yes, it does.
Very strange. Anyway, so there's an update for you. You know what? I'll save the next updates for a little later on. Let's get into your first topic.
Okay.
Which is Iran.
All right. Well, this was another big week in Iran. After we were lamenting the fact that Trump has given up on trying to claim that the war will end quickly, no, he was back on form over the weekend, suggesting that there was a deal that was imminent.
Yes.
Now, how many times have we heard this? So why was it that this time I thought maybe there is something to this?
Really?
It was because, well, briefly. Okay.
Okay, that's amazing.
It was
extraordinary.
No, it was because there were actually briefly reports that what was going on this time was that the US was actually on the brink of an agreement that would be over the Strait of Hormuz, and then they would negotiate the nuclear stuff within a 60-day timeline.
Okay.
Now,
hang on, before you go on this.
Yes,
can I just take one step back?
Yes.
And just say that the pattern is now so well set.
Yes, yeah.
Not only did I expect that nothing was going to happen after they said that they were hinting there was going to be an agreement, but on top of that, even before they were hinting there was going to be an agreement, I could tell from him threatening that he was going to strike them harder than anyone's ever struck them before. I think it was, he said, quote, "If we don't come to an agreement, we're going to have a situation where no country will ever be hit as hard as they're about to be hit." When I heard that, I thought, oh, he's doing that threatening thing where he's going to kill them all now, which means we're a day away from him saying, oh, we've almost got a deal, which means we're then 2 days away from him getting really angry, and then 3 days away from business as usual. So we actually got to the point now where the pattern is established. We actually go 2 days before the almost got a deal to know what's going to happen. So but you've cut straight to the in the middle of talking about the deal that you thought there might be something happening.
Well, yeah, it was because the reports seemed to be suggesting that the US was finally open to this approach of let's negotiate the Strait of Hormuz first and then the nuclear stuff later.
Okay.
Now, a 60-day window would be nowhere near long enough to negotiate the nuclear stuff, but I did see some sort of little sprout of hope there that maybe Trump was accepting the reality that this is the sequence that it's got to go in. Now, the other thing that made me think there might be something to this was the furious reaction that was coming from Republicans.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So a lot of Republicans were really freaked out about thinking that the deal was very close, and they did not like it at all.
Yeah.
So you had the likes of Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, suggesting...
I've got a bunch of these here for you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with Mike Pompeo.
Yep.
saying the deal being floated with Iran seems straight out of the Wendy Sherman, Robert Malley, Ben Rhodes playbook. They're all sort of Obama-esque people.
Yep.
Pay the IRGC to build a weapons of mass destruction program and terrorize the world, not remotely America first. It's straightforward. Open the damn strait. Deny Iran access to money. Take out enough Iranian capability so it cannot threaten our allies in the region. Overdue. Let's go. And here's the real tell. The response was like a stuck pig. Squealing from Stephen Chung.
Yes.
Saying Mike Pompeo has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. He should shut his stupid mouth and leave the real work to the professionals. He's not read into anything that's happening, so how would he know? So that's when you know you've hit the bullseye.
Yep.
So that's Mike Pompeo. Ted Cruz.
Yes.
I am deeply concerned about what we are hearing about an Iran deal being pushed by some voices in the administration. If the result of all that is to be an Iranian regime still run by Islamists who chant death to America, now receiving billions of dollars, being able to enrich uranium and develop nuclear weapons and having effective control of the Strait of Hormuz, then that outcome would be a disastrous mistake. And then, once again, Alex Brucewitz, who posts memes on social media, responds, he's in the Trump circle, "Cool, Ted. No one asked you, bro. Stop trying to undermine the president and his administration." And then Ted Cruz replied, "Hush, child. The adults are talking. I'm not your bro." And young political grifters pushing Iran appeasement and not remotely helping the president. And then Brucewitz replied, "Sorry you're still salty that I prevented you from getting a picture with Nicki Minaj after you came running after her like a schoolgirl. You're going to get wiped out in 2028. Clown." So that gives you an idea of where they were coming from. And also Roger Wicker. The rumoured 60-day ceasefire with the belief that Iran will ever engage in good faith would be a disaster. Everything accomplished by Operation Epic Fury would be for naught.
Yes, and even Cory Booker got in on the act.
I don't have that one.
So, it's not worth even mentioning past this point. So those reactions, they seem to suggest that there might actually be something a brewing this time.
That's fair.
And Trump was clearly a little bit disturbed by the response from the Republican Party.
Yes.
So he thought, I got to tack something else onto this. And so what he tacked on was the Abraham Accords.
Yes.
Now, you've heard me talk about the Abraham Accords before, if you are not a first-time pepper. If you are a first-time pepper, what this is like, Trump bringing up the Abraham Accords again, if you think of it from the perspective of the Arab states, this is like your dog buries a dead bird in the backyard, and a little bit later, when everybody's forgotten about it, the dog digs it up again and brings it to your bed and dumps it there and then looks at you and says, "So are we playing or not?" So what Trump said, just out of nowhere, was that he was mandatorily requesting. Have you got it there?
I've got it here, man.
Yes.
This is the worst tweet to read.
Yes,
but I will.
yeah.
I will. This one is worst.
Yes.
It's such a gas bag. But
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. After all the work done by the United States to try and pull this very complex puzzle together, it should be mandatory that all of these countries, at a minimum simultaneously, sign onto the Abraham Accords. Those countries discussed are Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, already a member, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan and Bahrain, already a member. It may be possible that one or two have a reason for not doing so, and that will be accepted, but most should be ready, willing and able to make the settlement with Iran a far more historic event than it would otherwise be. The Abraham Accords have proven to be, for the countries involved, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan and Kazakhstan, a financial, economic and social boom, even during this time of conflict and war, with the current members never even suggesting leaving or taking so much as even a pause. The reason for this is that the Abraham Accords have been great for them and will be even better for everybody and bring true power, strength and peace to the Middle East for the first time in 5,000 years. It will be a document respected like no other that has ever been signed anywhere in the world. Its level of importance and prestige will be unparalleled. It should start with the immediate signing by Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and everybody else should follow suit. If they don't, they should not be part of this deal, in that it shows bad intention. In speaking to numerous of the great leaders mentioned above, they would be honoured, as soon as our document is signed, to have the Islamic Republic of Iran as part of the Abraham Accords. Wow! Now that would be something special. This will be the most important deal that any of these great but always in conflict countries will ever sign. Nothing in the past or in the future will surpass it. Therefore, I am mandatorily requesting that all countries immediately sign the Abraham Accords, and that if Iran signs this agreement with me as President of the United States of America, it would be an honour to have them also be part of the unparalleled world coalition. What a gas bag.
The greatest agreement in the Middle East in 5,000 years.
And it's better than anything that will happen in the future as well.
Yeah. Greatest agreement. Hey, forget the covenant that Abraham actually made with God. This is way better.
That's great.
Yeah. So, it's been a boom for these.
Boom!
It's certainly been a boom for the UAE. Things have been going boom all over the place there recently. But okay, so if you're listening to this and wondering what are these Abraham Accords he's talking about, it was a diplomatic normalization agreement, originally between the UAE and Israel, then Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, and Kazakhstan were added. Those are the current signatories. Now, as I keep pointing out, what distinguishes these countries is none of them were ever at war with Israel. The UAE was actually engaged in intelligence sharing operations with Israel 4 years before the Abraham Accords were signed. This is not, as Trump and his allies and various media people keep insisting, this is not the first time in history that Arab states have ever normalized relations with Israel. Egypt had a treaty with Israel in 1979 that was a lot more substantial than the Abraham Accords. And given the fact that Egypt had actually been at war with Israel and borders Israel, that was way more significant than the Abraham Accords.
But was that in the last 5,000 years?
It was. But yeah, you know who brokered that?
Who?
Jimmy Carter.
No, we don't like that then.
Yeah. Jordan signed a treaty with Israel in 1994. They haven't exactly had the warmest relations with Israel, but the point is they have an actual treaty. These are two of the countries that Trump has demanded sign on to his bullshit. Yeah.
Mandatorily requesting.
Mandatorily requesting. Yes.
I think you're right, though.
Yeah.
What you've hinted without explicitly saying, I'll be explicit for you.
Yeah.
What is going on here
Yes.
is that they probably are close to a deal. Trump tested the water.
Yep.
And like they leaked it to Axios, as
Yes.
they always do.
Yep.
And he got a terrible response from Republicans. He got Republicans saying, hang on, this is the Obama deal again.
Yes.
And then on Sunday, as the third part of our 4-part series that keeps on recurring over and over again,
Yes.
he got really tushy about
He
it.
did.
And he was tweeting about the Obama comparisons quite angrily. Like, this is one of his tweets. One of the worst deals ever made by our country was the Iran nuclear deal, put forth and signed into existence by Barack Hussein Obama and the rank amateurs of the Obama administration. It was a direct path to Iran developing a nuclear weapon. Not so with the transaction currently being negotiated with Iran by the Trump administration. The exact opposite! In fact, the negotiations are proceeding in an orderly and constructive manner, and I have informed my representatives not to rush into a deal in that time is on our side. The blockade will remain in full force and effect until an agreement is reached, certified and signed. Both sides must take their time and get it right. There can be no mistakes. Our relationship with Iran has become a much more professional and productive one. They must understand, however, that they cannot develop or procure a nuclear weapon or bomb. Okay, so he's getting angry. He knows that Iran is not giving up anything.
Nope.
And so he's got an Obama deal or no deal.
Yep.
And so he's trying to introduce his Abraham Accords thing.
Yes.
In the hope that will add one more thing that he can go, hey, I've got this amazing deal. And look at the Abraham Accords. Here's
Yes.
Saudi Arabia in the Abraham Accords. I have achieved amazing things. Haven't I done well? Let's piss off to Cuba.
Yes.
Right? That's what he wants to do.
It is. And
Yeah.
I can see the logic behind it because Republicans have always talked about the Abraham Accords as if it's the greatest diplomatic achievement in human history. But, of course, this did not go down very well in the states that he was demanding sign on to it.
Yeah.
The reaction I would best describe it as silence, stifled laughter, perhaps a little bit of anger.
I mean, the problem is Saudi Arabia already wasn't part of the Abraham Accords before all this shit happened with Israel and Gaza.
Yes, yeah.
Right? And so, Saudi Arabia, even though it's a dictatorship, they still have to be aware of their populace.
They do.
And their populace, there's no way their populace would go with an accord with Israel right
Yes.
now under these conditions
No.
that have just happened.
So, to give some more background on Saudi Arabia, there have always been Islamist elements in Saudi Arabia who do not see the Saudi royal family as legitimate. They don't see monarchy as legitimate. They see that as un-Islamic. And so for Saudi Arabia, the country that houses the two holiest sites in Islam, to be ruled by this family has to think a lot about its legitimacy within Islam. It doesn't matter how repressive it is. It doesn't matter how many bribes it hands out. It's still got to worry about this. In the 1970s, there were holy sites taken over by Islamic militants. That was one of the things that prompted the Saudi royal family to get a lot more into the Wahhabist ideology and spend a lot more money spreading it around. So they are very conscious of how they actually look to their own population. We've mentioned before that it has been kind of widely posited that one of the factors behind October 7th was Hamas being afraid that Saudi Arabia might be approaching normalization of diplomatic relations with Israel. Well, we'll never know whether that would have happened, but as you say, it looks very, very remote now. And Saudi Arabia has just not responded at all, nor has Qatar, but unnamed diplomats from these countries have, of course, been talking to American media outlets like Politico, and they've been saying things like, this is just to appease the Republican base. We are going to ignore it. This is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead, something that actually has more of a chance of happening is some kind of accord involving Iran itself. Not the Abraham Accords, no matter what Trump says, like an actual regional agreement. This is an idea that is still alive. This is an idea that I could feasibly see concluding the war, but obviously there is a very long way to go before we're anywhere near a conclusion.
What do you mean by an agreement? What kind of agreement?
It would be a regional agreement between Arab states as well as Turkey and Pakistan and Iran that would – so this was talked about earlier on in the war, that it would be about curtailing the Iranian threat, but also about curtailing the Israeli threat.
What, like a non-aggression agreement?
Basically, yes. Yeah.
I could see that happening.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what's going to happen if they do any kind of, if they have any kind of peace deal at all, of any kind?
Yeah.
It's going to involve 30 or 60 or however many days where they're hammering out details,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Like everything we've seen leaked from both the Iranian and the American side involves some period where they're hammering out further details.
Yeah.
Right? During that period, we know what's going to happen.
Yes.
Regardless of what they say, Iran is going to do deals with countries to get access to the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes.
Right? And they've already right now they're doing deals with like South Korea and Turkey and like a few of those countries. If they have 30 days after they've done some deals, other countries will want deals as well, and they'll just keep on. It'll snowball, and before you know it, you're going to have an informal sort of pact of non-aggression through these deals for the Strait of Hormuz. And I don't know if Iran's going to end up having any tolls or if it's just going to basically. That's going to be their method of nuclear deterrence. It's going to be straight deterrence. Yeah. Like just back off or we close the strait. But if it's that, then you do have a sort of a non-aggression kind of vibe between all those countries. So I can see that happening, whether America arranges it or not.
Well, I think a lot of these Gulf states have realised being US allies has got them nowhere. It's got them Iranian missiles raining down on them. It's got them the crippling of their economies, both through the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and attacks on their infrastructure. Being a US ally hasn't helped them in that respect. In fact, it's actually hurt them. Now, so far, only the UAE has responded to this by doubling down on the Israel and American alliances. Everyone else seems to be realizing that this pipe dream of an Arab-Israeli-American military alliance against Israel just isn't going to happen.
But if some countries start doing deals,
the
UAE will come on board.
Oh, they will, yes, yeah.
Like, it's just logical.
Yes.
And I should also say, if that happens, if you start getting all these countries having deals, there's going to be incredible pressure on America to not rock the boat.
Yeah.
Like to not screw it up. To go, look, we've finally got the strait open.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. Just don't bugger this up anymore.
Yep.
And so America will just walk away.
Yeah.
If that happens. So we'll see if that happens. I was going to say that one thing I am slightly positive about is the nuclear situation. It does appear that there is a resolution coming, which is that at one point in time it looked pretty bad a few days back when Moshtaba put out a directive banning any of Iran's weapons-grade uranium from leaving the country. That was not going to end well. Because Trump just can't leave it there. He just can't leave it there.
No.
Like that would just seem so weak if he gave up on that. So that's bad news if Moshtaba says, no, you can't have it.
Yeah.
Trump doubled down again with another tweet. The enriched uranium, nuclear dust, will either be immediately turned over to the United States to be brought home and destroyed, or preferably in conjunction and coordination with the Islamic Republic of Iran, destroyed in place, or at another acceptable location with the Atomic Energy Commission or its equivalent being witness to this process and event. Thank you for your attention. This matter. Drink. President DJT. Now, that's interesting for a number of reasons. Interesting, firstly, because the Atomic Energy Commission hasn't existed since 1977. So that's even outdoing himself. Normally the references are from the 80s and 90s. This one's from the 70s.
Yeah.
So leaving that aside, it's noteworthy because Trump is saying, or at an acceptable location. He's never said that before.
That's true.
He's always said either we're destroying it there or in America.
Yeah.
But he's never said a third country.
No.
And then we hear that China are happy to take the enriched uranium. And I reckon Iran will give it to them.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's your compromise. America will accept that. So that's a path forward. Now, they haven't explicitly said that. This is all sort of rumors and stuff.
Yes.
But I'd be not at all surprised if that's where we end up in a week or two's time.
Yeah.
So that was encouraging to me, that. And the other thing I noted as well, which I found kind of funny, because this always happens, as part of the cycle, which we're now becoming all very familiar with, day 2 of the cycle, the day when, the part of the cycle where we're just about to sign a deal. We have a deal all signed and ready to go. At that moment, Trump can't help himself but be posting strange shit. Like, since I've been following him on Truth Social, I've been thoroughly entertained by the patterns of his posting. And right in the middle of when he's supposedly about to sign a deal, he tweets out this: the United States of the Middle East, with like the American flag over the top of Iran. Why the hell would you tweet that out while you're just about to sign a deal, supposedly? And then very soon after that, he tweeted out this next one. Hello, Greenland. Why would you do that? That, for those who are listening, it's Trump peering over the mountainside of Greenland as if he's eyeing off before he conquers it. Hello, Greenland. What? It's just, I don't know what goes through that guy's head. I really don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have anything else in this area?
Well, then, of course, as you've probably seen in the news, the US started attacking targets in southern Iran.
Oh, yes, this is a Monday.
Yes.
That's the fourth part of the cycle.
Yes.
Yes, that's right, yes.
These were missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz, because we found out a few weeks ago that 30 out of 33 of those were still operational.
The missiles are back.
The US said this was self-defense.
Yeah, they said that those missiles were lining up the ships that were manning the blockade.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, but just think about where we are at the point where one country says we're acting in self-defense when attacking another country on the other side of the world in that country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, in typical fashion, they've said that this is not a violation of the ceasefire.
No.
If you're attacking someone in self-defense, apparently not a violation of the ceasefire. So, look, actual World War III could break out and they would be claiming that the ceasefire was still in place.
It's just an excursion. It's an excursion to Oblivion.
Yeah. The ceasefire term is pretty meaningless at this point. Not the first time that's happened, though.
Yeah. No, it's not. Hello, this is Chaz and Lockie from the future. I just want to jump in to say that I skipped over the discussion of the latest terms that we know of in Iran for a potential peace deal. Washington Post has written about this, so I just thought I'd let you know that, at least according to Iran, they're on the verge of agreeing to $12 billion in frozen funds released, which, if you're keeping count, is about 8 times what Obama released. Iran would spend 30 days clearing the Strait of Hormuz of planted mines, and then after the 30 days, Iran would then reopen the strait to commercial traffic, no toll, and America would end its blockade, and at the same time America would reduce sanctions and allow the sale of Iranian oil. That seems to be the peace agreement according to Iranian sources. The American sources are saying there'll be a 60-day window, not a 30-day window. They have no contradiction on the funds being released. They didn't say $12 billion worth of funds, but they didn't contradict it either. No contradiction on the strait being open, the blockade being lifted. They say, the Americans, any sanctions relief will be conditional on Iran giving up highly enriched uranium and suspending enrichment for 20 years. That's what they say. The Iranians didn't say that. The standoff is apparently over the nuclear elements, the 20-year commitment, and whether they give up the highly enriched uranium and in what form. America are happy to negotiate that during the window, whether it be a 30-day window or a 60-day window, as long as Iran first pledged to never have a nuclear weapon and they agree to negotiate the process of giving up their highly enriched uranium. Then they can begin the process according to America. That then takes us to the idea of, is Iran willing to even consider the 20-year commitment and the giving up the highly enriched uranium, which is how China comes into the picture, which I just described before. So now I just wanted to get that down. That is what they're talking about at the moment. We'll see how that goes. Let's go back to yesterday. Let's move to the Slush Fund and associated topics.
Slush Fund.
Now, we talked a lot about this, and I talked a lot about it the day after we talked about it as well, because I did a lot of reading that night.
Yep.
There has been more detail about the settlement since. I'm not going to get too bogged down in the details, because I did cover this in a lot of depth last week, and let's face it, all the details are kind of bullshit. No one knows how this is going to end up.
Yeah.
Or if it's going to exist at all. All you need to know, basically, is there are 5 commissioners for this fund.
Yep.
They can be sacked by Trump at any time. They can make up whatever conditions or rules or processes they want.
Yes.
And they don't have to tell anybody. They can just keep it to themselves.
Yep.
The money they have access to is unlimited. Forget $1.7 billion. It's unlimited.
Yeah.
It's literally a slush fund with 0 conditions and no permission from Congress or a judge at all. The legal precedent for this is an illusion. There is no legal precedent. The Obama case they've cited was all conducted under the supervision of a judge. The settlements were closely related to the parties of the settlement. That's all you need to know. No precedent, complete bullshit, a joke. Like, it's obviously illegal. That's all we need. Let's not worry about more detail than that.
Yeah.
The senators are not holding back.
No.
The first few days of this week were just senators just lining up one after another, just trashing it. I'm talking Republican senators here too. Like Tom Tillis, he found a metaphor he quite likes. I'm sure you'll work it out what it is pretty quick.
I think it's stupid on stilts.
Why?
Because it will invariably put us in a position where your taxpayer dollars and my taxpayer dollars could potentially compensate someone who assaulted a police officer, admitted their guilt, got convicted, got pardoned, and now we're going to pay them for that? That's absurd. The American people are going to reject this out of hand. When you take money from me to give to a purpose that I vehemently disagree with, that's tyranny, and that's what that accounts.
And if you haven't worked out what the metaphor I was referring to is, this is another grab of his.
These people don't deserve restitution. Many of them deserve to be in prison. But this is, this is just stupid on stilts.
Do you think you have colleagues that share the same concerns that you're expressing?
Yeah, they do, and they need to speak up. I mean, this is beyond the pale. This is not good for my colleagues. There's no one positive thing that could be spun out of this between now and November. This is bad policy, it's bad timing, and it's bad politics.
I just want to note, for those of you who weren't watching this, or even for those of you who were, in that first clip, he was wearing the Blue Lives Matter flag. So this is a very contentious symbol that is basically the American flag in monochrome, but with one blue stripe on it. And it's the idea symbolizing the thin blue line that stands between order and chaos. This has been a much-loved right-wing symbol in response to the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, Tillis is using this against the January 6th rioters. He's saying they were against law and order. They were against the police. Indeed, their actions resulted in the deaths of police officers. So he's really trying to reclaim that ground. Do you know where the on stilts metaphor originally comes from?
No.
So, okay, he might not have been the first person to use it, but Jeremy Bentham, the godfather of utilitarian philosophy in the early 19th century, referred to the concept of rights as nonsense on stilts.
Oh.
Yes.
There you go.
So, and that's a fairly well-known quote. I imagine that Tom Tillis is aware of it.
That's what he's referring to.
Yes.
How about that? I just thought that was just weird and random. But there's not just Tillis. Mitch McConnell said, so the nation's top law enforcement official is asking for a slush fund to pay people who assault cops. Utterly stupid, morally wrong, take your pick. Even Tommy Tuberville.
Oh, my God.
Of all people.
When you've lost Tommy Tuberville.
Yeah. He said the money should not go to anyone who's assaulted a police officer.
Wow.
So there you go. Republican House member. We've got House members as well. Brian Fitzpatrick had this to say.
Congressman, what do you make of this $1.7 billion fund for
bad news? We're going to try to kill it.
You're going to try and kill it?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. And how?
Well, we're considering legislative options. We're going to write a letter to the AG to start, but we're considering a legislative option.
Okay.
We're trying to unpack exactly, what the legal machinations are, but can't do that.
We do have some House members defending it, but they defend it in strange ways. This is Ralph Norman being very strange.
Those funds, people who assaulted police.
Look, January 6th is an issue that was made up in the first place.
People were convicted of assaulting police.
Well, I know
made
that.
up, sir?
That was a staged thing from day one.
What about it?
January
The riot
6th.
was staged?
When you had police officers letting people in the building, when you had people that's not being prosecuted, Ray, forget his name, there's no excuse for that.
Your colleagues, though, your Republican colleagues ran for their life and barricaded themselves in their chamber. Do you think they were acting?
No, there was a riot there, but it was a self-made riot by members who hate Trump. It was made up, in my opinion.
I don't think that's a winning position, Dave.
No.
And by the way, this is Ralph Norman's tweet from 2021. This is utterly unacceptable. This is not who we are, and I condemn in the strongest possible terms the actions of rioters who have breached the Capitol building, attacked US Capitol Police, and in doing so have jeopardized the safety and lives of everyone on Capitol Hill.
I mean, he almost certainly didn't write that.
That's true. We should
Yeah.
be fair there, yes. Anyway, my point is there's not a lot of support for it.
No.
And the support that exists is kind of dumb support. It's not the support you want.
Yes.
Right. Todd Blanche tried to sell it to Republican senators. He had a little lunch with the Republican caucus.
Yeah, he
Senate
did.
Caucus.
Yes.
Apparently, according to news reports, at least 25 Republican senators objected. And according to Politico, Blanche committed privately right then and there that settlements would not be granted to anyone who assaulted police during January 6. But he refused to say that publicly.
Yeah.
And I'd like to know how he can guarantee that, given it's up to the commissioners, I thought.
That's right.
So that's an interesting little development there. We've now got to the point where there's a bunch of bills already on the table. Both the House and the Senate have 100% tax bills for any proceeds from the funds.
Yes.
House Dems have a blocking bill coming, which they're going to pursue a discharge petition for to force a vote on it. The Senate Republicans are using the reconciliation process to try to approve the DHS budget still. They haven't got that through yet, which means Democrats can propose as an amendment to that reconciliation a slush fund related amendment.
Yep.
Chris Van Hollen has already introduced amendments that prevent the money in the fund being going to child sex offenders and also to those guilty of assaulting police officers. They didn't want to vote on any of these, so they went on a break.
Oh, dear.
They just went on just a week break and they hoped it would die down. It ain't going to die down.
No, it ain't.
And Semaphore says that Trump is privately threatening to veto the reconciliation bill that funds ICE if that same bill blocks funding for either the ballroom or the slush fund.
That is how important this is to him.
Yeah.
His ballroom and his slush fund.
Over ICE.
More important than ICE.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts about this all, man?
If I'm given the choice, let him have his ballroom and his slush fund. If that defunds ICE, if Trump becomes the president who defunded ICE, he can build the stupidest and ugliest ballroom he wants.
The good news is you don't need to pick, mate, because he's only going to defund ICE if he doesn't get the ballroom. So it's win-win for you.
Yeah.
That's right. One other thing, I want to project into the future a little bit.
Yeah.
These are obviously going to court because this is all so illegal.
Yes.
The question's going to be who has standing, who doesn't have standing.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying. The first lawsuit against the slush fund, have you heard who the judge is?
Eileen Cannon.
No, it's not. It's because it's Washington. It's Judge Richard Leon. Do you know who Judge Richard Leon is?
The name does ring a bell.
It should ring a bell because he's better known as the ballroom judge. Trump's not going to like this verdict, I don't think. So get ready for him to get really angry.
Imagine if that's what you were known as, the ballroom judge. Adding the ballroom to any professional title just really, really works. Like the ballroom professor.
We actually did the direct opposite of this.
What's that?
On Correspondence Extra yesterday, where a correspondent said when you add the Gold Coast in front of any profession, it sounds dodgy.
Yes, Gold Coast doctor.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you're saying the other way around. They put ballroom in front of something.
Yes. By the way, just if you want to know more about the Gold Coast, Google Fairly Arrow. Okay, read about the Fairly Arrow.
That's a name from the past.
Saga. Yes, yeah. I mean, you would have some vague memory of it because it was a time when it was all over a current affair.
Yeah, I do vaguely
Yes,
remember,
this was a self-kidnapping on the Gold Coast, which the details still have to be read to be believed to this day.
One person who's been defending the slush fund is J.D. Vance.
Of course.
He's the only person, in fact, who has made a clear, unambiguous suggestion about who exactly, naming names, nothing vague about this.
Yes.
Who should benefit from the fund.
Right.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Okay.
The people that would get the money are people, some of whom have been prosecuted completely disproportionate to any crime they've ever committed. Like, let's just take a couple of examples. Tina Peters is this woman who is about to get out of prison, thanks in large part to the president's good work in Colorado. This is a woman who, at worst, if you believe everything that the prosecutors said about her, committed misdemeanor trespassing, and somebody threw the book at her, this innocent grandmother was going to spend 10 years in prison, completely disproportionate to any misdemeanor trespassing that I've ever seen. Was that fair? No. Is it reasonable for her to get some compensation for the fact that she was treated unfairly? I think the answer is yes, and I think that what we're going to see, hopefully, is the entire country, led by this Department of Justice, turning the page on the lawfare.
So, Tina Peters, is the shining example of who should get money from this fund. I cannot tell you how dishonest that grab was. I'm going to talk about Tina Peters now because she's actually topical.
Yes, please do.
And then I'm going to play that grab one more time. And you can see for yourself just how dishonest JD Vance has been then. Okay, a little bit about the background of Tina Peters. Tina Peters was the county clerk in Mesa County, Colorado during the 2020 election. That's the person who certifies elections.
Yes.
Like a supervisor. Trump won there. He won in that county. And she certified the results. This is in 2020. No problems. She said they were in order, and they were in order. That's it. Until Trump started his Stop the Steal garbage. And she's totally on board. And by May 2021, she was part of the movement trying to prove the 2020 election had been rigged. And she did that by breaking the law. She pretended a local IT consultant was a county employee, and she had a false security badge made for that IT consultant. Then she took that false security badge and she gave it to someone else, an election denier affiliated with the My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell. She smuggled that guy into the Mesa County election system and allowed him to make a copy of the voting machine software while it was updating. Like while the county system was updating. She disabled the security cameras so no one could see it happening while that was happening. But she recorded him with her phone for some insane reason. She wanted to be found guilty. I don't know. Anyway. And then, because, you've gone the trouble of disabling all the cameras, you don't want to find out, you then post that footage on the internet. Duh. Right? Anyway. And when she posted that footage online, guess what it did? It revealed all the county's passwords because they were on the video. Since she completely compromised the security of the voting machines, they had to all be replaced. And she was obviously found guilty because she put the proof herself on the internet. Since she made Colorado the ground zero of election conspiracy theories by doing all this, the other clerks in Colorado started copping a lot of harassment about, what have you been doing, etc. In 2024, she was convicted of 3 counts of attempting to influence a public servant by deceit, 1 count of conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, first-degree official misconduct, violation of duty, and failure to comply with the Secretary of State's requirements. If you adding that up, that's 4 felonies and 3 misdemeanors, and she was sentenced to 8 years and 9 months in prison. Now, Trump threw a massive tantrum when that happened because Tina Peters is basically the only person involved in Stop the Steal who actually faced long-term consequences. There were a bunch of people who were going to until Trump pardoned them.
Yes.
But he couldn't pardon her because it was a state conviction. So the rest of them all got off, but she was stuck in jail. The rioters were pardoned, but she was stuck in jail. Despite Trump hilariously pretending he could pardon her, which was very weird. I'll just put it up there. That is his actual attempted pardon in giant novelty check font. He was powerless to intervene because she was a state prisoner. So Trump contacted the Democratic governor of Colorado, a fellow by the name of Jared Polis.
One of your favourites.
Exactly. People who listen to the podcast a lot will have heard that name a few times. He's undoubtedly one of my favourite Democrats, Jared Polis. And Trump threatened him instead. And then he started to seemingly punish Colorado out of revenge.
The whole state.
The whole state. Because Tina Peters was incarcerated there. He moved US Space Command from Colorado to Alabama.
That's right, yes.
He rejected disaster relief for Colorado, specifically Colorado, devastated by floods and wildfires.
Yes.
He cut transportation money earmarked just for Colorado. He closed down a Colorado Climate Research Center. And for those who go, it's a climate research center, he doesn't like them. He left the other ones. He just cut the Colorado one. The first veto of his term was killing a pipeline project that would provide drinking water for Colorado's rural areas. That's Trump country. And he didn't want them to drink.
So the South Park vendetta against Trump is making a lot more sense now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It
Yeah.
all fits together. It's really scummy stuff from Trump.
Yeah.
Abusing public power to try and force Colorado to release a convicted felon because they supported your conspiracy theory. It actually reminded me a little bit of what got him impeached with Ukraine.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
the same kind of thing.
Yes.
Right? Anyway, that was going nowhere. And then last month, a Colorado appeals court overturned Tina Peters' sentence, 3-0. They said she's guilty. They said there's no bones about that. She put it on the internet, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
But they said her sentence was excessive in their view.
Okay.
In their view, the trial judge had punished her excessively because of her constitutionally protected opinions, over and above what she actually did. This is what the original trial judge had said about her. I'll quote the trial judge. You're a charlatan who used and is still using your prior position in office to peddle a snake oil that's been proven to be junk time and time again. This is what makes Miss Peters such a danger to our community. It's a position she held that has provided her the pulpit from which she can preach these lies, the undermining of our democratic process, the undermining of the belief and confidence in our election systems. The damage that is caused and continues to be caused is just as bad, if not worse, than the physical violence this course sees on all too regular ballot basis. It's particularly damaging when those words come from someone who holds a position of influence like you. You have made every effort to undermine the integrity of our elections and the public's trust in our institutions. You've done it from that lectern the voting public provided you with. Everything you've done has been to retain control, influence. The damage is immeasurable, and every time it gets refuted, every time it's shown to be false, just another tale is weaved. Now, the appeals court didn't reduce her sentence. They sent her back to the original trial judge for him to sentence her again.
Right.
Because they said, we think you're a bit harsh the first time round. And that was about to happen when Governor Jared Polis intervened. He commuted her sentence to 4 years and 4.5 months, which meant as of June the 1st, she would be on parole.
Right.
2 years early.
Yep.
Okay, so why would he do this? Jared Polis wrote in his commutation, the crimes you were convicted of are very serious and you deserve to spend time in prison for these offences. However, this is an extremely unusual and lengthy sentence for a first-time offender who committed non-violent crimes. He told the New York Times, she committed a crime. She deserves to be a convicted felon, but she was given an unusually harsh sentence. It's not a crime in our country to believe the earth is flat. It's not a crime to believe voting machines are flawed. And he said while he thought her views were crazy, there would be people in Colorado who thought she was a political prisoner. Quote, what you're not focusing on here is there are millions of Coloradans who felt that a particular Coloradan was punished for her beliefs. And in a Colorado for all, that's simply not the kind of Colorado we believe in. Keep on saying Colorado, Polis. Nobody should be punished for their beliefs. You should be punished for crimes. As far as the appropriate sentence goes, he said, what we looked at is sort of comparables for the sentencing on those. And frankly, there are public officials on nearly identical charges that get probation. Some get a year, some get 2 years. We couldn't find any that were 9 years. And when you look at why that was cited by the judge, he effectively cited her courtroom antics / speech. So, that's what he says. Did he back down to Trump in reality? He says his decision had nothing to do with Trump. He says Trump wanted a full pardon. So Trump was not going to be happy with her being commuted anyway. And he also said Trump had a bunch of other things he was annoyed about with Colorado, like their mail-in balloting system he can't get over.
Yep.
Finally, Polis said, I think this will be remembered fondly. The nation needs to have a reconciliation and healing. There's no indication he's right about that. When he said that exact quote, I think this will be remembered fondly, the nation needs to have a reconciliation and healing, below him were students holding a giant banner that read, Eat Shit Polis. So, that is his justification.
Yeah.
Dave, what are your thoughts now?
Going back to J.D. Vance, he said this is more serious than any misdemeanor trespass case.
Yeah, this is not misdemeanor trespass.
Not misdemeanor trespass case that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
J.D. Vance, you have never seen a legal case.
That's true.
Remember when you were in law school, Peter Thiel came along and gave a speech saying that being a lawyer is pointless, so you decided to go into venture capital instead.
That's true.
You're not a lawyer. Stop pretending to be one.
But that makes me not a lawyer too, Dave. Watch where you're pissing.
You You have, I think it's safe to say, nobody here is going to dispute that you have spent a lot more time reading American case law than JD Vance has. That you have spent a lot more time following court cases than JD Vance has. That you probably have a better working knowledge of the US Constitution, although not the Alabama Constitution, than JD Vance has.
Sure.
What JD Vance reminds me of is the lyric in Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds' Red Right Hand.
Yes.
You remember that song?
I don't.
It was on the CD Songs in the Key of X.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was when the X-Files decided to make its own CD soundtrack.
Yeah.
Sleep Ahead of 1995, that one. Yeah, the line, you don't have no self-respect, you feel like an insect, but there ain't nothing you can do.
Okay. Sure, why not?
That is what I hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But leaving aside JD Vance, where are you with Jared Polis? Because a lot of people are giving him a lot of shit about this commutation.
Look, we have talked before about the idea that it's possibly a political reality that the US has to face, that the justice system is going to have to make choices around basically letting people off for the sake of political peace, including Trump himself. Now, I've talked about this before. At the end of Trump's first term, I was all about prosecute. One of my mentors, Dermot McGuire, I remember him saying, very bad idea to prosecute Trump. Dermot's originally from Northern Ireland. He's very familiar with this kind of conflict context where sometimes you've just got to make political compromises to the law in order to be able to have peace and to move on. And that's been the principle of Truth and Reconciliation commissions. Now, Americans don't like to think of their country as being in that state, and a lot of us don't like to think of the US as being in that state, but you could argue that's where it is. And that's the basic logic that Polis is following. That is essentially exactly what he was saying there, that you've got to move beyond legal technicalities and you've actually got to take the politics of it into account. And he was explicitly doing that. He was saying, look, she believes things that millions of Coloradans believe, and so those beliefs shouldn't be an exacerbating factor in the sentencing. Now, as I said, my own position has changed on this. In 2021, I was very much in the camp of you've either got the rule of law or you don't. But, now my view is a lot more sympathetic to taking these kinds of political considerations into account.
It's interesting that you say that, because whatever the pressures were to prosecute after Trump's first term, after his second term, when Trump has been prosecuting, those pressures are going to be that much greater on the Democrats to reciprocate, at least in some respect. So we'll see how that turns out. I was going to say, look, I am generally a fan of Jared Polis.
Yes.
So a lot of people have asked me what I thought about this. A lot of peppers have asked me.
Yep.
Look, I believe his reasons.
Yes.
I don't think he's stupid enough to think that Trump would reward him or Colorado in any way.
Yeah.
Literally all Trump has said in response is, "Free Tina!" That's it.
Yeah.
Not even a thank you. Which is expected because Trump thinks he's entitled to deference. But Polis is term limited this year. He's not even running for governor again.
Yeah, he's probably running for president, though.
You reckon? We'll see. He says he's not.
If he's a pepper, he's definitely running for president. If he's a pepper, he thinks he's basically the only viable Democratic candidate. If he's a pepper, he thinks he should have been the presidential candidate in 2024 and maybe 2020.
But if he's a pepper, he knows that I didn't think he stood a chance, even though I really liked him. He says he doesn't intend to run for any office at all.
Okay.
But he says that. We'll see. I mean, he's only 51.
Yeah.
But let's take him at his word. He doesn't intend to run for any office. We'll see.
The man literally has the Greek root word for politics in his name.
That is true. He does. He does. I can see how he would think that this couldn't possibly help him with any office involving Democrats. He couldn't win a primary.
No.
Like, I mean, if he wants to run for president, he can't win a primary now. The Democrats in Colorado won't even let him speak at any future events.
No.
Like, they've banned him from speaking at Colorado Democratic events. Mike Bennett, who's the senator for 1950s sitcoms, is about to be the next Colorado governor. And he has said, I am not going to appoint Governor Polis to be my temporary replacement.
Yeah.
Because he disqualified himself with his commutation.
Yeah.
And Mike Bennett's like an old school kind of a guy.
Yeah.
So that tells you where they're at. Sorry.
Look, I got to say, okay, maybe one of the reasons that I'm sympathetic towards Polis here is I just, as I've said before, I'm just not a huge fan of incarceration generally.
Yeah, no.
Sometimes I think it's necessary. Like I'm not a complete abolitionist on this front. Sometimes I think it is necessary, but the whole idea that the longer the prison, the sentence, the better. Like, I'm not a fan of that, and I do think that 9 years seems like a long time.
And Polis is consistent on that. He's very consistently not been a big fan of imprisonment. Like, he is on the libertarian side. I should also say, I don't think he's expecting any gratitude or rehabilitation from Tina Peters either.
No, of course not. No.
Journalist Kyle Clark noted that Polis left a paragraph out of his commutation that he's put in every other pardon and commutation, which was the paragraph that says, you have taken full accountability for your actions and recognize the mistakes you made in the past. You are remorseful and ready to advance to a new phase of life. I believe you'll be successful upon your release. He didn't say that.
No.
Even the Colorado Clemency Board didn't recommend the sentence should be shortened. So why did he do it? I think he genuinely believes it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I think he thinks she was over-sentenced because of her beliefs. I think that's true. As in, I think it's true that he thinks that.
Yep.
I think he thinks that someone needs to de-escalate in America, like you said. And I think he thought it's the right thing to do and no one else is going to do it, so I might as well do it because I'm on my way out. I actually genuinely, maybe you think I'm a sucker because I like him, but I actually do think he shows moral courage and I respect him more because of the decision, but I think he's wrong. I disagree with his decision.
There you go.
I mean, I respect it, but I think he's wrong. I think you should let the courts do their job. The bloody court was about to make a decision about her sentencing.
Yes.
That's their job. It's not your job to come over the top as the governor and to short circuit the court.
Yes.
Like, if you thought an injustice was happening, the court's there to remedy the injustice.
That's right.
They're in the process. Let them do it.
Yeah.
If at the end of the process you think there hasn't been injustice and there's been an injustice, then you can come over the top if you want. But right now, let the court do their job.
Yes.
I think it's just a terrible mistake in my personal view. I mean, he literally pardoned her when everyone knew that Trump was about to reveal this bloody slush fund to benefit people like her. We all knew it was coming.
Yes.
Trump has been foreshadowing this for weeks. In context, this is just going to make it look like no one gets held accountable if they help Trump.
That's true.
She was literally the only one.
Yeah.
And then Jared Potts is going, no, let's not do that. No. I think you can't ignore the context here. She's the only one with consequences. Don't remove the consequences unless the court holds that you should. And then rule of law, go with the court. She broke the law, really clearly.
Yeah, she did.
And there were real victims of her law breaking. Other clerks getting harassed.
Yeah.
I think she probably did get a harsher sentence than she deserved, but not by much. Only by we're talking a difference of 2 years of imprisonment here. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe a year too much or whatever. It's not a huge difference. And I think you should think really carefully before you remove that punishment right now, because there's an epidemic in this country right now of Trump allies breaking the law with impunity. And there's only so much you can show this impunity before people lose all faith in the rule of law. And so, so I actually I wouldn't do it. But okay. I respect him.
Yes.
I respect his intentions, and I respect the fact he made a tough decision that I disagree with.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. Maybe I'm a sucker, but that's my take on it. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
No, not really.
All right, then what we should do is we should go back to bloody J.D. Vance and hear what he had to say about Tina Peters again.
Tina Peters is this woman who is about to get out of prison, thanks in large part to the president's good work in Colorado. This is a woman who, at worst, if you believe everything that the prosecutors said about her, committed misdemeanor trespassing, and somebody threw the book at her, this innocent grandmother was going to spend 10 years in prison, completely disproportionate to any misdemeanor trespassing that I've ever seen. Was that fair? No.
Get stuffed. She wasn't released because of Trump's good work. Trump's good work was to blackmail the state of Colorado until they gave in. That's not good work. She was released because of Jared Polis's generosity and the fact that Vance wouldn't even mention Polis's name after Polis did a solid for their girl says horrible things about Vance, I think. Feel the fury when you cross Jared Polis.
He also obviously he just gave no details about what any of this was about, right? If you're hearing that for the first time,
misdemeanor trespassing.
Yeah, innocent grandmother, misdemeanor trespassing. Like, did she wander into the wrong section of the park when she was feeding the ducks or something like that? That's what people would be thinking of.
She wasn't innocent. She was convicted, and it wasn't misdemeanor trespassing. She was convicted of 4 felonies and 3 misdemeanors, none of which were trespassing.
No.
Like, what
impersonating officials.
Like, just honestly. And
official misconduct.
And can I say, the fact that she's the best example that they can think of for someone who deserves compensation from that fund says a lot.
Yeah.
Someone who committed 4 felonies and 3 misdemeanors and then only served 2 years of jail time for it, that's their best example. That shows you why the fund shouldn't exist.
Yeah. It really does.
It would take me hours to tell you, and I've always got hours, to tell you about how much injustice there is in the American legal system.
Yeah.
Outside this.
Yes.
This is not an example. Remember, qualified immunity still exists, something which we don't talk about enough. That is where if a cop commits some crime against you, you can't sue the cop unless there's the exact actions having been deemed unconstitutional by a court beforehand. Sometime in history. That's the only time you can sue them. So, a deputy sheriff who shot a dog that wasn't even threatening that deputy sheriff, missed, and hit a 10-year-old boy instead, the mum couldn't sue that cop because that had never happened before and been declared unconstitutional. Cops...
Cop might have shot a 10-year-old boy before, but not while aiming at a dog.
That's right. Cops stealing $225,000 off a guy when executing a search warrant. Guy couldn't sue them for theft because of qualified immunity.
Yeah, because when they took money from Afro Man, it was a different amount.
Exactly. One of the reasons I bring, you might go, that's a random thing to bring up. The reason I brought it up is because back in 2020, that's an interesting year. Back in 2020, there was a lot of talk about qualified immunity.
Especially from you.
Yes, and it looked like, just for once, they were going to get rid of it. And you know why they didn't? Because the president at the time loved qualified immunity. Who is that president again? Who is that president? I believe it was Donald Trump. So don't tell me about injustice against Tina Peters and the J6s when mums can't sue cops who shoot their sons when they're aiming at non-threatening dogs because of Trump. By the way, Trump wanted more immunity for the cops.
He did.
He thought there wasn't enough immunity for the cops.
Yep.
So get stuffed, all of you. Dave, talk about the Pope.
Okay. This week, there was a new encyclical from the Pope. So an encyclical is essentially an open letter that is related to the Pope's views on church doctrine. Encyclicals have played a pretty significant role in the history of the Catholic Church, and they've been getting longer.
Oh, man. I tried to read this. That was long.
The historical average is 10 to 14,000 words. This one's 42,300 words.
I gave up. Yeah.
Yeah. John Paul II's longest, though.
Yeah.
Evangelo Vitae, in 1995, that was 50,000 words.
Yeah.
So he has not broken the record yet.
And the fact they put it in paragraphs, and they number the paragraphs, they think it makes it seem shorter. It doesn't. It just seems really, really long. Yeah.
Anyway, long though it was a very significant document. Okay. So This came on the 135th anniversary of an encyclical by Pope Leo, who is very self-consciously this Pope's namesake.
Yep.
That is why he adopted the name. And that encyclical was called Rerum Novarum.
We just saw Lockie's graphic. It's great.
Meaning new things. And what he was referring to with new things was the Industrial Revolution and the upheaval that the Industrial Revolution had created and the changes in employment and what he saw as the danger of dehumanization that was coming from the Industrial Revolution. Right. So this is very much the 21st century version of Rerum Novarum, which is a document that is cited right throughout this encyclical, which is called Humanitas Magnificat.
Yes.
Magnificent humanity. Now, for Pope Leo, the new thing that he is talking about is artificial intelligence. So this is all about artificial intelligence. Now, despite the auspiciousness of the date when it dropped, it took most people outside of the Vatican by surprise. Most of us were not expecting this. Silicon Valley was certainly not expecting this to happen. The way it happened, it wasn't just like he put this open letter out there. There was a whole presentation. There's a PowerPoint or something resembling a PowerPoint presentation. He actually had a fairly significant figure from the AI world, Christopher Olah from Anthropic, to speak as well and to create a kind of dialogue.
I thought he was going to have a boss or something. That would have been pretty cool. Little boss offsider.
Anyway, I do actually encourage people to read this document, or at least some of this document, or at least some kind of summary of this document that was made by a human, not by AI.
We'll put the document in the homework.
Because I
Good luck.
do think that this was a very significant document.
Yeah.
Now, he was very much looking at what are the potentially dehumanizing consequences of AI. So he very forcefully makes the point, AI is not human. Okay, as much as it does things that may make it resemble a human, it is not human. It can't feel, it can't have experiences, it can't learn from relationships, it can't do all of the things that humans can do. Now, some of you might be thinking, this is an incredibly obvious point. Why did he need to make it? Well, maybe because Richard Dawkins, self-appointed arch rival of Christianity, has recently been babbling about he thinks that AI is conscious because he can't tell the difference.
He's an old man.
Between a chatbot and consciousness. That is a statement that says so much more about Richard Dawkins than it does about AI or about the nature of consciousness. Anyway.
No 80-year-olds can tell AI from people.
Well, look, all I'm saying was in the war between Catholicism and atheism, this was a very easy point for the Pope to score.
Sure.
Against Richard Dawkins. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, there was that point. And he talks about an issue that many people are concerned about, which is the potential of job losses for AI. So this comes at a time when, as we pointed out last week, commencement speakers across America are getting booed by students because they're talking about like how AI is the future.
Yeah.
And the key paragraph to me was paragraph 10. So I'm actually going to read this out because I think that this really gets to the heart of what he was saying. So he's talked earlier in the encyclical about the Tower of Babel.
Yep.
This very arrogant attempt by humans to create this singular tower that would rival God. And he says, we must then avoid the Babel syndrome, namely the idolatry of profit that sacrifices the weak, a uniformity that neutralizes differences, and the pretense that a single language, even a digital one, can translate everything, including the mystery of the person, into data and performance. The risk of dehumanization, of building a future that excludes God and reduces the other to a means, is an ancient and ever-new temptation that today takes on a technical guise. And he instead encourages people to follow this other example from the Bible of Nehemiah, which is about a man who helped to rebuild Jerusalem as a process of true community with all of the families in Jerusalem, with God very much at the center of the process. To some extent, this will have a limited appeal to non-Catholics or non-Christians because he's talking in biblical language and talking in biblical metaphors. And it's very clear that to him, dehumanization is a process that involves removing God from it. But I do think this still has a lot to say to non-Catholics and to non-Christians. And the reason why this has been welcomed by a lot of non-Catholics and non-Christians is because at this point, people are just looking for any ally against this narrative of the inevitability of AI. And that is what is just the overwhelming narrative in the US. So at the moment, there is unsigned regulation sitting on Trump's desk about the need for the federal government to evaluate new AI models before they're put out. Trump won't even sign that. So he was talking about signing it, but now he's just refusing to sign it. Right? People know that this government in particular is not going to do anything to rein AI in. And there's a state of despair about this, which is manifesting in all kinds of ways. It's manifesting over the fact that AI data centers are now becoming a very big political issue in the US, something that wasn't even on the horizon 2 years ago. Now, wherever people want to put them, no matter what the political complexion of their district is, people are saying no. Right. And I think that it's not just about the data centers themselves. It's about what they represent, which is about Silicon Valley just lording it over everyone and everything. Her surname is Diaz, religion correspondent for the New York Times. I'm sorry, I've forgotten her first name. She was writing about the fact that what people are really concerned about is this attitude that comes out of Silicon Valley, which is that there are only really a few hundred people on Earth that really matter, which is the tech people who are building the human race of the future. Yeah, what I was talking about early on, who are building the ladder to Mars, essentially, and that nobody else really matters. So when the Pope talks about dehumanization, yes, he is talking about it in a particularly Christian way, but just somebody who is taking the side of humanity over AI, people are really going to welcome that. And people are welcoming that. And they're welcoming the idea that there is some other power on Earth that is actually prepared to stand up to Silicon Valley.
Look, I'm not an expert on the Encyclical because I didn't read the whole lot.
Yes.
Like I said, not even close. But I think from what I read, I think something that was powerful about it was that he wasn't taking a Luddite position.
No, he wasn't.
Like he wasn't going, oh, AI's got to end, data centers suck, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
He was saying, yes, progress forward, but let's contemplate these other things while we do.
Yeah.
Which is important because I think part of what gets people down, trying to get into the psychology, is not just the attitude, which I think you accurately describe, but also the fact that everyone knows that if America takes their foot off the accelerator, China's going to go past them.
Yes.
Like with their own AI. Like that there's a race. Everyone knows there's a race. And people wish that they didn't have to make a choice between either being screwed over by Americans or being screwed over by Chinese people. That there was some other future. And what the Pope seems to envisage a different future where you can go hell for leather, but at the same time in a way that doesn't just run roughshod over humanity. And I think that was the powerful thing about this.
Keeping humanity at the center of it, that is the whole message here. And there's survey research that suggests Americans have less trust in AI than the citizens of any other country that gets surveyed. And the reason for that is that's basically to do with their lack of trust in their own government, or their lack of faith that the government is capable of or willing to regulate AI in the ways that people would like. So there are countries, for example, like Norway, where labour unions have to be involved in any kind of discussion about how AI gets used in the workplace. People in Norway way more trusting of AI, much higher opinion of AI, because they're more likely to see it as a tool that can actually help people rather than as something that is going to replace people. Silicon Valley in the US does itself absolutely no favors by basically glorifying the replacement of humanity, or whenever they're talking about the great things of humanity, they are only talking about themselves and their supposed ability to enhance humanity, or to save humanity in some way. So I think that's why people are actually welcoming this kind of intervention.
Something which I find a bit weird. I don't know where this fits. I mean, the theory of the Pope is he's meant to be the voice of God, yeah? To Catholics. Or is he not?
Calling him the voice of God would be that would be a few steps further.
Okay.
Than I think how. Yeah.
Like I thought what the Pope says is meant to be gospel. Like it's meant to be.
No, gospel is gospel.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say like God seems pretty verbose there. Going into some pretty technical details, and God seems to just have a lot of very human-sounding opinions.
No, there are religious organisations where the leader speaks for God, so that's a bit closer to Mormonism.
Okay,
where the president of the church is a prophet and actually produces prophecy.
Right. Okay.
Which is direct communication with God.
Okay.
Encyclical is not prophecy.
Okay, because he's
in that way,
because he seems to be playing the role of a wise person.
Yes, yeah. No, this is opinion.
Yeah.
According to the 1647 Westminster Confession of Faith, the Pope is the Antichrist.
Wow.
So very much not the voice of God.
But I think you can see why my parents think I'm such a terrible Catholic now. That I've got no idea about Catholicism.
No, that's Reformed. The anti-Catholics.
Yeah.
I'm not a Catholic. I'm an atheist, but I grew up in a Catholic family, and obviously I didn't learn very much. Fair enough. That's really interesting. I have nothing to add because I just didn't read enough of it to have something to add. But it's. I mean, I read plenty of articles referring to it, but they quote a paragraph or two, and then that's it. I wish there was some in between because honestly, you try and read it. It's pretty hard. So I just jump in here from the future again, folks, because I was saying that I wished someone would write an article that goes into some depth about an element of the Encyclical. On Thursday night, I read one. Good article. It was in The Atlantic, written by Gal Beckerman, that made exactly the point that Dave made about the enhanced games in the Gratefuls, which I thought was interesting. But it was in the context, obviously, of the Pope's speech, and I thought it was an effective point. So I'm going to link the whole article in the blurb, but I'm going to read you the key bit right now, so you don't even need to read the article. This is what Gal Beckerman said. He also makes clear that humanity, as he describes it, should be exalted because of its woundedness, just as much as its grandeur. Our limitations are the key to understanding what makes humans special. We must remember that humanity flourishes not despite limitations, but often through them, he writes. You don't even need to believe in God to appreciate that our uniqueness derives from the friction produced by our, quote, vulnerability, suffering, and failure. To smooth out this roughness would be to get rid of what is most essential about us. Along those lines, this is maybe my favourite passage from the Encyclical, says Gal Beckerman. And now I'm going to read the passage from the Encyclical. To eliminate suffering entirely would mean, in the end, extinguishing love and desire as well. Those who love and desire cannot avoid passing through trial and suffering. And over the years, we carry within us lessons that leave their mark like scars. The memories of a journey shaped by freedom and failure, dreams and disappointments. It's only thanks to the interplay of these elements that the wonders of the soul occur within us, allowing us to sense the richness of our humanity. To renounce this adventure, both tragic and splendid, in the name of a presumed transcendence of all limits, could mean many things, but it would no longer be human. Gal Beckerman continues, I'm not a Christian, and really not much of a believer at all, but this articulates so well what I feel AI is taking from us. What makes a human life valuable is struggle. The things we achieve, the love, the give and take of families and communities, all of it involves effort. What AI is offering to do is to remove struggle and effort. You could argue, and many do, that it will help improve our quality of life in many realms if it finds new life-saving drugs more quickly, for example. But the Pope's point is that no more than a small handful of people have control over how and where to apply AI, and they are letting the value of efficiency trump everything else. Dehumanization is what follows, and the only way to resist it is by exulting in our limitations, in our struggles, as a good thing. And I thought the way that piece and that what I just read out linked into Dave's theme of the podcast was really interesting. So I thought I'd share it with you all.
I would find it a lot easier to read this than to read like the 2,000 blog posts a day or whatever that you read.
The blog posts are a lot shorter.
Yeah, but there's 2,000 of them.
There are a lot of them. That's true. There are a lot of them. And some of them are infuriating.
Yes.
Oh my God. Actually, the next topic is an area where, man, I got angry.
Okay.
but I don't want to rush you. You got anything else to say
No.
about the
I don't have much more to say about it. And I've got to admit, I didn't get past the first chapter.
Yeah, sure.
So, like, I can't comment any
that was a bit.
Any further on it. But, I could... I agreed with a lot of what I read, and I can really see the broad appeal of what I read. And this continues to be a pope who is he is making a lot of allies outside of the Catholic Church.
It felt like, and this is a very general comment, but just when I was reading, it felt like the opposite of everything we get these days.
Yeah,
that is welcome. It's kind of like that when Joe Rogan sprung up in podcasts, it was like. It was like every podcast was like 20 minutes long and super produced. And then all of a sudden there's this 4-hour podcast. And I'm definitely not knocking them. This 4-hour podcast, which just seemed the direct opposite of every other podcast. And people said, yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm a big Rogan fan, but it just the format. You just go, wow, that is what we need. Something very different to the rest of the world. The Pope feels like what we need, I have to say. But
the Pope is the Joe Rogan
I know.
of popes?
The Joe Rogan of pundits, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, but better. Anyway, enough on the Pope.
Stats Nugget.
This is going to be fun. Okay, Dave.
I'm ready for some fun.
It's quiz time.
Yep.
The Global Country Perceptions Database has put out their 2026 edition. Okay, so we're talking a survey of people in 85 countries around the world about how they view 132 countries and international organizations. They're giving a score of average net perception. Okay, so from plus 100 to minus 100.
Yep.
So, for instance, to give you an example, Switzerland is number one. I'll tell you that right now, with plus 36.
Right.
So it has an average net perception of 36 points to the positive. Okay?
Yep.
What's America's ranking out of 132 countries?
Can I first of all qualify this by saying what kind of opinions are most people going to have about 132 countries?
Probably not much.
Yeah.
I've got opinions, but they didn't ask me.
Like, do you have opinions about the Maldives?
I'm not sure the Maldives was in that list.
Okay.
But I've got opinions about a lot of countries.
Zambia?
Zambia, yeah, not so much.
Lithuania?
Lithuania, yeah. I could talk about Lithuania a little bit.
Paraguay? I mean...
I read a lot of geography.
Okay, I'm going to guess that the US ranks about 80th.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad. The answer, out of 132 countries, is 128.
Whoa!
On minus 16.
Wow.
Smashing Iran by 1 point. Iran is 129th and minus 17. That's what the list looks like there.
Yeah.
Do you want to guess the bottom three countries? There are only three countries below the United States and Iran, and they are guessable.
Russia?
No.
Oh.
Russia is above America.
Oh, dear. Syria?
No, but yeah, I mean, you're in the right area. That's
North Korea.
North Korea is one of them. The three countries are Afghanistan, North Korea on minus 19, and Israel is minus 24.
Yep.
So there we go. Australia is number 8 on plus 30.
Oh, wow.
So there you go.
Yes.
Australia is just below Spain, just above Denmark. And you can see Russia is just above America, actually. Russia's 126.
Wow.
On minus 11. The United States is minus 16. So even though Russia's 2 places higher, the US is way below the standard deviations, obviously.
That is a long way below the standard deviation.
So there you go. Syria was just above Russia there. So they're all together. Syria, Russia, Iraq, US, Iran, Afghanistan, North Korea, and Israel. So there you go. That's the nugget. All right, here's the topic I was annoyed about.
Okay.
This is, in my view, the most scandalously undercovered story of the week. Kash Patel made this announcement last Thursday. This afternoon, a former managing assistant US attorney who supported Jack Smith's politicized investigation of President Trump has been charged with stealing the confidential investigation documents. Carmen Lineberger allegedly emailed the confidential material to her own personal email, disguising them as dessert recipes to conceal them from record searchers. Lineberger is charged with 4 felony counts in the indictment. This FBI will not hesitate to bring to account those who violated the trust of the American public in an investigation that should never have been brought to begin with. Now, had you heard about that other than me whinging about that story?
Nope.
Because I whinged it to Dave about this on our phone.
Yes.
Almost every outlet that has covered this has been conservative and hackish. The double. So if you have heard that story, which is unlikely, you would have probably heard misinformation about it. So let me tell you what happened, what actually happened. Trump had 4 cases against him back in 2022. Remember those 4 cases?
Yep.
I thought some of them were bullshit. One of them was reasonable, and that's the J6 indictment. And in particular, one was an absolute slam dunk, no questions asked. Trump is going to jail if this case gets heard type case. And that was the Mar-a-Lago documents case. I was very excited about that one. The case where Trump clearly and obviously took with him after his presidency hundreds of classified documents that he had absolutely no right to take. Some of them were of the highest secrecy. When the government came up to him and told him he had to give those documents back, they didn't care that he took them. They just said, just give them back. All's forgiven. No problems. He refused.
Yep.
And then they asked him again and again and again. They just kept on asking him, and then he started to hide the documents around Mar-a-Lago. And he lied to the government continuously about these documents. He told them he'd hand them all over. He hadn't. He'd hidden them. And then when he found there was evidence of him hiding the documents, he tried to destroy that evidence. It got to the point where he was trying to flood the room with the computers that stored his own surveillance footage. That's how dodgy the man was. Anyone who did this stuff, who wasn't Donald Trump, would have gone to jail for the rest of their lives. That is not an exaggeration. There were a lot of top secret documents and a lot of obstruction. But Trump drew a judge, Eileen Cannon, that did whatever she could do to help him out, and she ended up finding that Jack Smith had been incorrectly appointed, and so they would have to start the entire investigation again, except for, damn it, Trump was elected president, so that's the end of that. Sorry. And the case was dismissed, and Jack Smith tried to write a summary report, so that way people could at least know what Trump did and the evidence against him, and Eileen Cannon wouldn't even let him release that. She sealed the report, so we would never even know the evidence against Trump, and no one was allowed to share it or release it. That's background. That's 2024. Now, what happened now is in late 2025, 11 months after that, Carmen Lineberger was the managing assistant United States attorney of the Fort Pierce branch of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida. And in that capacity, the indictment says she obtained a copy of Jack Smith's sealed report, the one Eileen Cannon said no one could see. And she changed the name of that report to buntcakerecipe.pdf. And then she emailed that file to her personal email account. She also obtained an internal DOJ memorandum about the Jack Smith report that was specifically labelled for official use only, internal DOJ use only. She renamed that file to be chocolatecakerecipe.pdf, and she emailed that to her personal email account. Now, we should say she was never part of Jack Smith's team. The US Attorney's Office played a supporting role to some part of Jack Smith's work, in particular before he was appointed. She did some of that. So she really had very little to do with Jack Smith.
Yeah.
Even though conservative media is now trying to condemn the Jack Smith investigation with her actions. And she did all this stuff on her government laptop, which was very stupid. They got the goods on her. There is no doubt about this. She's pled not guilty, but she's facing 2 counts of theft of government money or property valued less than $1,000, destruction, alteration, or falsification of records in federal investigations, and concealment, removal, or mutilation of public records. 24 years potential jail time when you add that all up. Okay, so what is really going on here? It's clear she broke the law to begin with. She definitely did. I totally get why prosecutors might throw the book at her.
Yes.
But it's obvious that she wasn't a spy. She was stealing those documents to leak to the press. Obviously, she was rightly outraged that Trump had gotten away with his brazen crimes, and she wanted him to at least be exposed for what he did.
Yes.
I mean, that's obviously what's happening here. But honestly, almost every article I've read from conservative press is just saying, oh, this is about weaponization and stuff. No, it's not. It's just leaking to the press. That's the reason they caught her so quickly, because the only crime this administration actually cares about is leaking documents.
Yes.
So, in summary, Trump commits hundreds of crimes through the mishandling of secret documents, lying to federal officers, obstruction of investigation. I can't imagine how many years jail was coming to him. He gets off scot-free because of a hack judge and because he wins an election. And the person who tries to expose him by taking 2 documents, both of which should be public.
Yes.
If this administration wasn't corrupt, she's probably going to end up with more than 10 years jail. And she didn't even take one of the secret documents that Trump took. She didn't take any secret documents. What she took was the sealed files that shouldn't be sealed.
Yes.
That is where we're at. And conservative media really pissed me off by acting like this is proving how corrupt Jack Smith is, even though he had nothing to do with it whatsoever. What are your thoughts, Dave?
First of all, you should stop reading conservative because it's deeply unhealthy. Second, I can imagine some future Democratic president pardoning her or probably commuting her sentence. That seems to be more the
Look, she broke the law.
The Democratic style.
Yeah.
And when they do, National Review et al. Will bring out the fainting couch and say, this is the worst abuse of the Constitution ever committed in the history of these United States. Loosen my bow tie. Yeah, that I think is the depressing scenario that we're headed for. Admittedly, not as depressing as her going to jail. Like, this really is bad that she is going to be the one who goes to jail for stealing documents.
Only one who goes to jail.
Yeah. This is pretty awful.
This is a very frustrating story.
But whenever Kash Patel's involved, it can be fucked up in some way.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be my hope, that Kash Patel cashes it up.
Maybe he'll spill bourbon all over the hard drive there's holding her emails. I don't know. If you're a rule of law kind of guy, this story is pretty stiff medicine.
Yeah.
I gotta say, and I am a rule of law kind of guy. I'll give a quick update on primaries before you take away on Texas.
Yes.
Okay, I told you about this woman in the 35th District of Texas last week. Not you. It was after you were gone. Maureen Galindo. She won a plurality of the vote in the primary, but then it went to a runoff. And she posted this Instagram post in the weekend before her runoff, which is still up even now, amazingly. And it reads, when Maureen gets into Congress, she'll write legislation so that all Zionism and support of Zionism is undoubtedly anti-Semitic, since it's Zionist harming the Semites. I don't understand that English grammar, but anyway, she'll turn Khan's ICE detention center into a prison for American Zionists and former ICE officers for human trafficking. It will also be a castration processing center for pedophiles, which will probably be most of the Zionists. That was a pretty controversial post, and it's still up. It also prompted a great correspondence I'm going to read right here. Hello from the future again, and I have a great correspondence here from Leon. Leon has some absolute classic correspondences usually about angles that we would never even consider, and this is another example. So we just showed you that Instagram post which most people would focus on the obvious overtones of anti-Semitism there, even though it wasn't explicitly. She says, no, I'm talking Zionists, not Jewish people. Pretty clear she's got some issues, right? That's what most people would focus on. That's not what Leon was focusing on. I'm going to read you Leon's correspondence. I'm going to make a point about her rhetoric, which isn't about being a raging anti-Semite whose favourite musical instrument is a dog whistle. Pedophiles are people with pedophilic disorder, specifically for children aged between 5 and 12, although diagnostic cutoffs can vary. Pedophile is not a synonym for anyone who sexually assaults a person under 18, nor is it synonymous with rapist. It obviously isn't synonymous with Zionist either, regardless of one's feelings about Zionism. I digress. The term is being used far too generally, from the left to the right, and it does matter. Not all child sex abusers are pedophiles, and the causes, motivations behind abuse are complex, requiring a complex response to prevent offences. There are opportunistic predators and situational predators who do not have pedophilic disorder, and addressing those forms of abuse is not helped by placing a narrative of one particular motivation onto them. Beyond that, people who actually have pedophilic disorder, whether offending or non-offending, do not choose to have it. It's just a fact. When people realise that they have this persistent attraction to prepubescent children, the best abuse prevention strategy is for them to seek support from a psychologist and or psychiatrist. Society needs to recognise pedophilia as a disorder rather than invoking the word casually or as political speech, so that individuals with a disorder will view it as a serious issue which needs medical attention, and they will admit their thoughts to a professional rather than letting the attraction grow in secret because they fear being rounded up and castrated. The best way to protect children is for pedophiles to admit their disorder as early as possible and seek treatment/management going forward, possibly including libido suppressants. We don't need to be comfortable with pedophilia. We don't need to normalise pedophilia, but we do need to stop throwing the word around so carelessly. Obviously, this absolute knobhead here has gone above and beyond, conflating pedophilic disorder with Zionism. But harm has been done even in the absence of lefty Pizzagate wannabes. It's a conversation people are extremely resistant to have because pedophilia is an issue which understandably provokes an emotional response. But if we want to prevent/reduce child sex abuse, part of that is preventative to self-disclosure by pedophiles and a society-wide understanding of what pedophilic disorder is. I love that correspondence. I love it because it is 100% obviously right. Now, some people like throwing around the term pedophile or who are a little bit sick of being told what they can and can't say will go, oh, political correctness. Oh, we're being sympathetic to pedophiles now, are we? Oh, poor little pedophile. I totally can see how someone would say that, but just stop and think for a second. What Leon is saying is absolutely right. You're not being sympathetic to pedophiles. You're being realistic about what pedophilia is. It's not being a rapist. It's being attracted to children. And Leon's absolutely right. There would be pedophiles out there who aren't going around hiding in school toilets. They are struggling with the fact that they have feelings and attractions to kids. And they're trying to stop it. They're trying to stop acting on it. And the last thing they need is for people to shame them into not going to a therapist. And it's in all our interests for them to go to that therapist, right? Especially in the kids' interests for them to go to a therapist and to deal with it. Obviously, if you place them under more pressure and they don't get treated, they're more likely to turn into a potentially down the road someone who forcibly attacks children. I'm not saying that every single one would, of course not. But I'm just saying it doesn't fix the problem to marginalise it. That doesn't mean you embrace them. It means you be realistic. Now, look, I offend on this score as much as anyone, probably more. I do throw the term around a bit. But and I'm not saying that I'll never throw the term around again, but I totally acknowledge Leon's point. I think it's right. I'm at least going to try. And I think that's something that we can all do. It's not about trying to censor people or trying to be politically correct. It's about not being stupid. And if the main slogan of this podcast is that we try not to raise the stakes on inconsequential views, the second slogan would be we try to just not be stupid. There's so much stupid out there. Stupid can take care of itself. Let's try and be something else. So thank you very much, Leon. You're right. This is a conversation people are too scared to have, and I'm glad that we're having it at least in a one-sided fashion from you and me just going, yes. Let's go back to yesterday. I told you I would just go back and forth through time. It's amazing. Anyway, this was her response to the controversy.
Okay, but this is the message I'm just sending out in bulk. I never said I want Jews in internment camps. Literally never said it. I said I want to close all detention centers, all ICE detention centers, and put billionaire American Zionists who are funding the genocidal prison systems involved in trafficking into prison. If they committed a crime, do they not belong in prison? The internment camps comment was made up by a journalist here who literally wants me dead. Who literally, I believe, wants me dead. The DCCC coordinated all this because they want their billionaire Zionist-backed cop candidate. The PR guy for the deadliest jail in all of Texas.
Don't wake up politicians when they're halfway through their sleep cycle, okay? It never works out well for anyone. For those who are listening, that you won't know what I'm talking about. When you see her, she looks pretty tired. I know what a tired person looks like. She's a Fruit Loop. Okay, we get that. Anyway, she lost her runoff 63% to 37%. If you're wondering what happened, that's the end of her. She will not be back. Also, and so primary talk generally, it was probably a good day for Trump because Chip Roy, who was another Republican who has shown a little bit of backbone and independence from Trump, lost his run for Texas Attorney General.
Yes.
And Al Green, the Democrat who keeps getting thrown out of Trump's State of the Union speeches, lost his primary as well. So
he's the guy with the crutch.
the cane, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but Dave, that's not what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about the main game.
What we're going to talk about is Ken Paxton. Okay, so Ken Paxton, who is the former Texas Attorney General, won a thumping victory over John Cornyn, the 3-time Senate incumbent.
Yeah. Let's start with just Cornyn v. Paxton, and then we can move to Talarico v. Paxton.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I was expecting Paxton to win. I wasn't expecting it to be this big.
Yeah, it was
This
real
was
beatdown.
Very, very big. Paxton getting almost 2/3 of the vote. Now, Paxton had Trump's endorsement in the last week, but my read on that was Trump realised that Paxton was going to win and so thought he had better endorse him.
Exactly the same, I thought. I thought it was a classic jump in front of the parade and just keep walking.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Cornyn in the original primary beat Paxton.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, but this time around, not so much.
Yeah, and this was in a primary where $135 million was spent. That is the record for a Senate primary.
Yeah.
Now, the big rap on Paxton is that he's unelectable.
Yes.
Okay, we'll get to that
We will.
in a second, but let's look at why he is considered unelectable.
Please.
Now, you will often hear, people often sort of hop over it quite quickly, the fact that he has faced corruption charges, corruption allegations, ethics breaches.
They always say bribery and extramarital affairs, and they never explain anything.
Now, because this is a bit complicated, I am actually going to resort to reading things out here. Okay.
Please.
So there are basically two things that you've got to know about. One was servage, which is what he got indicted for, and the other is Nate Paul, which is what he got impeached for. Okay, so starting with servage, Not very long after he became Attorney General in 2015, he was indicted by a grand jury on 3 criminal charges, 2 counts of securities fraud and 1 of failure to register with state security fraud. So that's 2 first-degree felonies and 1 third-degree felony. Okay, and I love that the Wikipedia page says, Paxton's indictment marked the first such criminal indictment of a Texas Attorney General in 32 years. Not since 1983 has a Texas Attorney General
been indicted for breaking the law.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Now, what happened was that Ken Paxton was part of this investment club with some other Republicans, including people that he had been friends with but then turned into political rivals. And so he was selling shares of Cervigy Incorporated. Doesn't that just sound respectable?
Cervigy.
Cervigy. Cervergy. It
sounds like a disease you get on the high seas.
It does. Yeah. Yes. So prosecutors allege that Paxton sold shares of Cervigy to investors, raising $840,000 while failing to disclose that he was receiving compensation from the company in the form of $100,000 shares of stock in return.
Okay.
Now, Paxton's story about why he was getting $100,000 of shares in stock changed a lot, but the most consistent one was that it was a gift, not a sales commission, which he would have been obliged to reveal to the rest of the investment club.
Okay.
So he pleaded not guilty, said that it was a witch hunt. His supporters said that this was because this was actually a split within the Republican Party. So the people that he allegedly defrauded were moderates, former friends in the Republican Party. Now, what happened here is that Paxton engaged in all kinds of wily and ultimately successful legal maneuvers to just delay. Okay, so there was a lot of moving the court case around. First of all, from Fort Worth to Harris County, which is Houston, then from Harris County to Collin County, which is his home county. In the meantime, there was a problem with prosecutors not getting paid, which meant that special prosecutors ended up resigning from the case. Eventually, it did end up in Collin County. However, it got delayed again. Because of this dispute over whether it should be in Collin County or Harris County. So finally it ended up in Harris County in October 2023. Remember, the charges were brought in 2015. They scheduled Paxton's trial to begin in 2020 on April 15th, 2024. On March 26th, 2024, Paxton then reached an agreement with the Special Prosecutor's Office to allow him to avoid trial. Under the agreement, he agreed to pay $300,000 in restitution, perform 200 hours of community service, and take 15 hours of legal ethics training. But he was not required to admit wrongdoing in the case. And after all that, the case was dismissed on June 18th, 2025. So he got out of that. The SEC also brought a civil case against him. But the US district judge who was in charge of it said he didn't actually have any legal obligation to inform investors that he was receiving a commission. Yeah, in this investment friendship club or whatever it was. Anyway, then in October 2020,
so cynical.
Yeah, there were 7 of Paxton's top aides published a letter to the office's Director of Human Resources accusing Paxton of improper influence, abuse of office, bribery, and other crimes.
Yep.
And said that they provided information to law enforcement and asked them to investigate. They all got fired. Now, what were they alleging? Okay, this is where we start to get into the impeachment territory. The allegations included that Paxton illegally used his office to benefit real estate developer Nate Paul, who had donated $25,000 to Paxton's 2018 campaign. And the Paxton advocated that Paul's company, called World Class, hire a woman with whom Paxton had had an extramarital affair. Now, if that's not world class, I don't know what is.
It's certainly classy.
Paul acknowledged employing the woman, but denied that he had done so on Paxton's behalf.
Just coincidence.
Yes. And also the Attorney General's office was interfering in all kinds of heavy-handed ways in legal trouble that Nate Paul was having. So this whistleblower case ended in 2023 following mediation. Paxton agreed to a tentative settlement in which the whistleblowers would be paid $3.3 million. Under the settlement agreement, neither side accepted fault or liability, but Paxton accepted the plaintiffs acted in a manner that they thought was right and apologises for referring to them as rogue employees. Okay, so we've got a $3.3 million settlement. Now, who do you think's going to pay that?
That's going to be Paxton, won't it?
No, it's not going to be Paxton.
Oh.
It's going to be the Attorney General's office.
Oh, okay.
You know who the Attorney General's office has to ask for money?
Who's that?
The Texas legislature.
Ah.
And the Texas legislature was pretty pissed off about that.
Right.
So this is what led to his impeachment. This was in May 2023. A spokeswoman for Texas House Speaker Dade Phelan said that there was an investigation that was beginning due to Paxton demanding taxpayer funds for the settlement without providing sufficient information or evidence in support of his request. On May 23, 2023, on the eve of the committee's public release of its report, Paxton accused Dade Phelan of performing his Texas Speaker duties the week prior in a state of apparent debilitating intoxication, demanded that Phelan resign, and demanded that the House General investigating the committee investigate Phelan.
Yeah.
Phelan said Paxton's statement was little more than a last-ditch effort to save face. And, well, it didn't save very much. He got impeached. So, look, there were 20 articles of impeachment. Yeah. I'm not going to go through them all, but here are the ones at the top, which
That's longer than the Encyclical.
Regarded as more important. Paxton ignored his official duty to protect charities when he directed his office to interfere in the Mitter Foundation charity's lawsuit against Nate Paul, a political donor to Paxton. So that was, they were basically making the charity's complaints go away.
Yep.
He abused his official power to issue written legal opinions when he directed his office to write an opinion to prevent Paul's properties from being sold in foreclosure, and also had his office reverse their legal conclusions in an attempt to benefit Paul. I'm not sure if I've already mentioned it. The amount that Paul donated was $25,000, right? Which some peppers might remember. Where have you heard $25,000 in connection with bribery before?
I don't think I remember.
Way back, that was the amount that the Trump Foundation donated to Pam Bondi's campaign.
Oh, wow.
For Florida Attorney General to make her retreat from Florida signing on to the lawsuit against Trump University.
Those were the days. Do you remember when people got bribed with thousands of dollars?
Yeah.
They were great days. I miss those days.
Paxton abused his official power by directing his office to violate the law regarding two public information requests, one of which concerned Department of Public Safety records for a criminal investigation of Paul. Paxton abused his official power to improperly obtain private information in attempt to release it for Paul's benefit. Blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on and on and on. There's a lot of stuff in there. Anyway, so he was impeached. He was impeached by a pretty significant margin. It has to be said. So there are, let's see how many people voted in this. 144 votes. Do you want to guess how many people voted to impeach?
I am going to guess, out of 144 votes, I'm going to guess 92.
121.
Wow. That is
60
overwhelming.
Republicans and 61 Democrats voted to impeach. All 23 who voted against were Republicans. So that is nearly 2/3 of the Republican caucus voted to impeach him.
They must have been so pissed off when he got off it.
Well, yeah, because as is the sort of common theme when it comes to impeachment, he was not convicted. The Senate did not convict him. The impeachment trial began on September 5th in the Texas Senate, in which there were 19 Republicans and 12 Democrats. The Senate voted, first of all, the Senate did vote down Paxton's motion to dismiss all the charges. They voted that down 24-6. However, the trial concluded with a majority of 16 Republican senators voting to acquit Paxton. By the way, that did not include his wife, who recused herself from that vote, and his ex-wife. Yeah. She, by that point, had asked for a divorce on biblical grounds because she'd accused him of adultery.
And because he committed so many crimes, he sounded like a character from the Bible.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
So it was 16-14. All 12 Democratic senators plus 2 Republican senators voted to convict Paxton, but they would have needed 21 votes to convict. So that cleared the path for Paxton to resume his duties as Attorney General.
And to campaign for senator.
Yes.
He's just the kind of medal that the Senate needs.
Yes. Yeah. So there's just to remember those numbers. 121 to 23, 60 to 23 Republican members of the House voted to impeach him.
Now, to be fair, that's what Ken Paxton did.
Yes.
On the other hand, John Cornyn.
Oh, yes. Dish it.
He voted against Trump.
Oh!
0.8% of the time. Considerably less than Ted Cruz voted against Trump. But anyway, also, he was slow to get on board the Trump train in 2016.
He was, it's true.
He was slow to get back on the Trump train in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
He was never enthusiastic enough about the border wall.
No.
And according to Ken Paxton's ad, he has Muslim friends. And he once said, Inshallah.
Senator John Cornyn has a special place in his heart for radical Islam. Even as Muslim extremists force Sharia law on Texans, Cornyn sides with his friends at groups tied to radical Islamic terror.
Thanks to my friends at Islamic Relief USA.
Friends who praise Muslim brotherhood. Cornyn even believes we have a moral obligation to support Muslim mass immigration. And he still thinks he should be our senator?
God willing, inshallah.
He said, Inshallah. So anyway, on one hand, you got what Ken Paxton did, and the other hand, you got what John Cornyn did. It makes perfect sense that you go for Paxton.
Yes.
Given that.
And, they went for Paxton by a huge margin.
Huge margin. He never said Inshallah.
Roughly the same margins as, he was impeached by.
Yes.
By Republican members of the House.
Okay, so what's going on here? How did Paxton smash Cornyn?
Well,
why do they hate Cornyn so much?
Yeah,
they clearly hate Cornyn.
Yeah, Cornyn has been a hate figure for a long time. He's seen basically as the last vestige of the Bush-era Republican Party in Texas, yes, which includes things like, I wouldn't say he was ever open to comprehensive immigration reform, but he was certainly sort of more sympathetic to less hardline approaches to immigration.
Yep.
From that more sort of traditionally pro-business Republican point of view. He was not on board with all of the Muslim baiting that Ken Paxton was doing.
Apparently.
Yeah. Well, he might have been on board with a bit of it, but Paxton was doing so much of it.
Yeah.
Like, this is basically the core of Ken Paxton's, political identity. Yeah. So, they saw him as disloyal on that. And as you say, he even though he almost never voted against Trump, he was just not sufficiently enthusiastic towards Trump.
I think also when he tried to suck up to Trump, it was just so unconvincing.
Yeah.
Like, no one believed it. He famously on May 12th, right at the end of the primary race, introduced a bill to rename US Highway 287 Interstate 47. That's just pathetic.
That is really sad.
Have you seen that photo of him reading the art of the deal?
No.
He tweeted out, this was not during the race, this was last year, but still in his bid to suck up to Trump. He tweeted out a photo of him reading the art of the deal, and it's just a tweet that says, recommended. He definitely does. I mean, he might as well be holding the book upside down. He does not look like he's reading that book. It's just so unconvincing. I can see why, like, Trump fans just wouldn't trust him.
Yeah.
You are of the view, as I am, that he jumped in front of the parade, that he is not the reason why Paxton, that Trump, I'm talking about, is not the reason why Paxton won.
That's right.
Paxton was winning anyway.
Yeah.
But do you think it made any difference at all, the endorsement, the late endorsement?
Oh, probably. Trump? Yeah. No, I think that the margin wouldn't have been that huge without Trump's endorsement, but I definitely think he would have won without Trump's endorsement.
I agree. I mean, and the proof is there. It's obvious. You look at the early votes. The early votes, Paxton was doing it easily as well.
Yes.
Not quite as easily as he was doing it on the day votes.
Yeah.
So that demonstrates the Trump effect had an effect, but it wasn't what won it for him.
No.
It's just, I agree, just increased the margin. By the way, I will say this. Paxton can thank Trump, but not because of that. I think the reason why Paxton can thank Trump is if Trump never existed, Paxton doesn't exist. There's no way a politician with as low standards as Ken Paxton could have run for office 15 years ago or 20 years ago. There's just no way. It's only because Trump has reset the bar for the standards of politics so worm low that Ken Paxton can just crawl over, just flopping his body over the the bar that's on the ground.
Yeah.
It's so yeah, that's what. Thank you for allowing us to have Ken Paxton, Trump. But I'll say one other thing about Cornyn before I forget him, and that is, it becomes fascinating now what Cornyn does for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Because you've now got a caucus of 5 Republican senators.
Yes.
Who have no reason to support Trump.
That's
at
right.
all.
Yes.
You've got Cornyn, you've got Tillis, you've got Cassidy, you've got McConnell, all 4 of whom would presumably blame Trump for their demise. And then you've got Collins.
Yeah.
It's in her interest to vote against Trump as much as possible.
Yep.
Like to win in May. So if you do the math, 3 vote majority.
Yeah.
5 people who have incentives to cross Trump.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting 6 months.
That is.
Yes.
Because that would mean that doesn't even make Fetterman the swing vote.
No, it doesn't. Look, no, they're not all going to go against Trump every time.
No.
I'm just saying that when you got 5,
yes,
you only need and it's the 3 vote majority. That gives you a lot of margin for error. So
yes.
Do you have anything else to say about Cornyn before we move to Talarico?
No.
Okay, well, let's talk about Talarico v Paxton, the main event.
Okay, so Democrats see this as their best chance in a long time.
Are they right?
He might be their best chance in a while, but he's still a real long shot. Yep. This is what I want to emphasize. Okay, so there have been, up until this point, polls showing them neck and neck or Talarico a little bit ahead of Paxton.
Paxton hasn't won an RC, a Real Clear Politics poll, a recognised poll, since January.
But I think this is partly a function of the primaries and divides in the Republican Party.
Sure.
Okay. So I think that is eating into his vote. The fact that there will be a lot of Cornyn supporters who would say, no, I would not vote for Paxton. What we always see, right? We saw this a lot with polling around Trump in 2016 and 2024. Is that once the field clears, once you have a single Republican candidate, the Republicans who were skeptical about them, at least some of them, get on board.
Yeah.
And I think that enough of them are going to get on board with Paxton that he would have to be the favourite to win.
What I was going to say, and I think you've actually addressed it, was that there's a lot of comparisons between Beto O'Rourke and Talarico.
Yes. Yeah.
Because those elections are basically parallels.
Yes,
You're talking about the 2018 election versus the 2026 election.
Yeah.
That's 2 years in Trump's first term versus 2 years in Trump's second term. The polling right now is basically identical.
Yep.
Like in terms of the generic Democrat poll. You have in 2018 it was an 8-point Democratic lead. It's currently a 7-point Democratic lead, and it's getting bigger.
Yeah.
So they're pretty parallel. And people have noted that Beto O'Rourke literally never won a poll against Ted Cruz. Even though he was really close the whole time.
Yeah.
He literally never won a respected poll.
Yep.
And I was going to make that point, but you've already addressed it because he never ran against a divided field.
Yes.
Like,
that's right.
Ted Cruz is always the candidate.
He was.
Whereas here, this is the first time now that Paxton will be the only candidate.
So I'm going to make a very bold claim about this race.
Yep.
For the next few months, you are going to be seeing a lot of commentary about Republicans painting Talarico as weird and low testosterone and a freak and God is non-binary.
I'm going to start that commentary in about 5 minutes.
And on the other side, we'll be hearing a lot about Paxton's rampant criminality and hypocrisy and borderline Nazism and everything. None of that is going to matter. What matters in Texas is that the party ID situation of the state gives whoever the Republican candidate is a significant advantage over the Democrat. Talarico's hope in this election lies in the fact that the political situation for Republicans is deteriorating across America, and Texas is not immune from that.
According to Strength in Numbers, the generic vote right now is Democrats ahead 50.5 to 49.5.
Yes.
It's basically 50-50.
If Talarico wins, it is going to be because of the nationwide deterioration of political circumstances for Republicans driven by the economic consequences of the Iran war and President Trump's deteriorating approval rating. That's it. If Paxton wins, it's because of the party ID advantage that Republicans have in the state of Texas. This is in many ways, this is going to be presented as like the greatest contrast race in history. Doesn't matter. Their records don't matter. Their personalities don't matter. Their criminal indictments don't matter for one of them. The fact that one of them said God is non-binary, which I've got to say, the idea that God doesn't have a human gender, that's not exactly a huge affront to Christian doctrine. It may be that God is often described in masculine language and using masculine metaphors like the Lord, etc. But the idea that God doesn't have a human gender because God isn't human, that is not exactly uncontroversial.
See, the thing is, I've seen a lot of conservative Christians say exactly that.
Yes.
Say, God doesn't have a gender.
Yes.
And when Talarico defends that comment, he always just starts quoting Bible verses.
Yes.
And just goes, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
So here, God is referred to as female. Here, God is referred to as male. Back to the conservatives. They say, he doesn't have a gender, but he's not non-binary. I think conservatives, conservative like Republicans in America, especially in Texas, think of non-binary as like weird. They don't think of it as what it actually
Children
is.
identifying as cats. Things like that.
Yeah, I don't think they think of it as, it just means no gender.
Yes.
Like no defined gender, which is a very simple definition. But they think, it's like those guys with purple hair and shit. Like I think that's how they think of it. And they find it's just so offensive. But actually, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even by just conventional Christian understanding, God doesn't have a gender, so that is by definition non-binary.
Yes.
It's just So it's, and a lot of those comments. I mean, hey, why don't I play one of the ads so we can refer to the actual things?
Yes.
Here we go. This is one of the ads they're already running with.
The Democrats have a weird candidate.
God is non-binary. There are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption. The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us. Prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness, my own masculinity. Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front. No need to sit and cry over, your whiteness or your masculinity. They're going to call me a radical leftist.
Something that you love that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
The Democrats have a weird candidate.
Low T Talarico, too weak for Texas.
That's exactly a kind of ad where you listen to those quotes and about half of them just leap at you out of context, clearly out of context. And just, this actually means nothing. This isn't a big deal. That's a good ad because it's the collection of them. So we can, so that I haven't seen a clip that's not in that ad. That is, that's all of them.
Okay. They've decided on weird is the attack line. Does that sound familiar to you?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
And does that remind you of a successful political campaign?
Well,
or one that people thought was really clever at the time but actually turned out to be totally ineffective?
They were doing great with the weird until they stopped doing it. Yeah. We're talking about the 2024 Tim Walz campaign before he became vice president.
Yes. But then, so they have that whole ad and people might be looking at that and go, oh, yeah, a little bit weird. Then low T Talarico. People are going to be like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not his only nickname. He's got a bunch of them. He's running a nickname-based campaign. Let's have a look at that one.
My opponent is the most extreme radical the Democrats have ever nominated. He's even running a vegan campaign, whatever that is. He goes by a few names that you may all have heard of. Some people know him as Tofu Talarico. Some people call him Six-Gender Jimmy. I've even heard some people call him James Talafrico. And others refer to him simply as Low T Talarico. But no matter what you call him, let me tell you this. James Talarico is a threat to everything we hold dear in this state and in this country.
I agree with you, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think this shit matters at all.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is, there's a few reasons. Number one, I think Talarico is actually a really gifted communicator. And they've only got 5 of these clips.
Yes.
And he's going, and some of them are so out of context. When you see, I'll play some of the real context after the white flash, and you'll see that they're actually pros for him. And he talks about them all the time, and they're his strengths.
Yes.
That's number one. But number two, on top of that, even the ones that are a bit weird, Talarico is such an engaging and just likable character. I don't think any of this is going to be a problem. By contrast, Paxton can't do the nicknames because he's not Trump.
Yeah.
He's just not. He has no charisma.
Yeah.
He sounds creepy, to be honest.
Yes, yeah.
He's a terrible performer.
Yeah.
And so I think at the end of the day, I don't think any of this stuff is going to matter. It's going to, I think Talarico is going to neutralize it.
Yeah.
And Paxton's not going to get any points when he talks.
No.
Right? And so the only thing I would change from what you said about this is going to be about the fundamentals is there's one other thing I would say, which is I think it's going to be about Hispanics.
Yeah.
I think it's just a question of just how much do the Hispanics hate Trump?
Yeah.
They already starting to really hate him.
Yeah.
I think if in 6 months' time they detest him, Talarico wins.
Yep.
And that's going to be it's going to be a case of that.
Yes.
Because the Hispanics are such a big part of the Texas vote.
So the final thing that I would say is, as you saw from that pathetic little snippet, they're making a big deal out of the fact that James Talarico has said that we need to reduce consumption of meat.
I'm going to be talking about that.
Now, obviously in Texas, Texans are kind of like reverse Hindus. It's compulsory to eat beef there. I have eaten some of the best beef of my life in Texas, in one particular barbecue place between Austin and College Station. I won't name it because we don't advertise on the ABC. But that was...
Even in Texas.
Yeah. That was a place where they don't give you any plates or utensils or anything. It's just like they pile the brisket and sausages onto a sheet of white paper and they give you some white bread and just say, go for it.
Sure.
Great stuff. So I can see why they're pursuing this angle of attack. I did see some Paxton spokesperson saying, well, Texans aren't going to stop eating brisket. Well, in fact, they might because the price of beef is so insanely high at the moment. And the Washington Post actually had a story about the number of classic Texas barbecue joints that are in danger of going out of business because they are having to put their prices up so high in order to deal with the skyrocketing price of beef, which the administration still has no response to. To be fair, the root problems behind the high price of beef are not entirely due to the Trump administration. There's drought, there's disease, there's all kinds of stuff factoring into it. But nothing that they're doing is helping, obviously. So, yeah, the beef thing could become an issue, but not one that's very helpful to Paxton by the time November rolls around.
Okay.
That's it from me.
Thank you very much, Dave. I'll continue after the White Flash with a little bit more on Talarico, a few more clips and a few more insults, and there'll be plenty more where that came from. Dave, thank you much for your time.
My pleasure. Stay peppy.
Stay peppy. Welcome to the other side of the White Flash. This is Chaz Unleashed.
With Lockie the Lackey.
Indeed, and you've already seen us or heard us a few times during this pod with our brave new world of interrupting the pod with the future.
As I often say when I'm sitting here with Chaz, what is time anyway?
Now we'll just get to the rest. All the stuff we haven't gotten to yet. I was halfway through talking about Talarico and Paxton, so why don't we continue on that? The tactics of the two parties, I think, are clear. From Talarico's point of view, let's look at the clip that this is Talarico being interviewed directly after Paxton won his primary.
Something just happened in Texas. The most corrupt politician in America just became the Republican nominee for the United States Senate. 3 years ago, Ken Paxton was impeached by his own party for using his public office to enrich himself and his donors at the expense of the people. That kind of corruption is the rot at the core of this broken system. It's why we can't afford anything. It's why we can't get ahead no matter how hard we work. For 50 years, mega donors and their puppet politicians like Ken Paxton have stolen from us with their bribes, their bailouts, and their billionaire tax breaks. Ken Paxton has gotten away with it. They've all gotten away with it. But that ends this year, in this state, in this race. If we, the people, can come together to defeat the most corrupt politician in America, we can defeat this entire corrupt system. We can start unrigging this economy. We can start raising our pay, cutting our taxes, lowering our costs. We can finally get ahead. It's time to come together. The people versus Ken Paxton.
So that's a great example of what Talarico is trying to do. He's trying to use Paxton's corruption as emblematic of the elites and the cause of our economic woes. So he's connecting Paxton's corruption directly to affordability, which is the issue all polling tells Democrats they need to talk about. Might be a stretch, but what it does have is the advantage of being a grand theory, where everything Talarico wants to talk about, Paxton being corrupt, and high prices, and the economy going away, and the people versus the powerful, and all the populist stuff, it all fits into the same narrative. There's one narrative, and everything fits into it. And that's good when you can do that. It means everything you're saying is building your narrative, your grand story you're trying to tell, including Trump, because Trump represents the corruption of the elites that Talarico is saying is responsible for the high prices you're paying. You're paying high prices because Trump is corrupt, and you're paying high prices because Paxton's corrupt. Every time Trump does something corrupt, Talarico can go, hey, see what Trump did yesterday? That's part of what I'm fighting against. That's why you should vote for me instead of Paxton, because Paxton's part of the same thing. You'll end up paying higher prices because of Paxton, because of this corruption that is creating higher prices. So like I said, it is a little bit of a stretch to go from corruption to higher prices. Like, inflation is not caused usually by corruption, according to economists. but yeah, in the purposes of political rhetoric, he can probably get away with it. If he does get away with it, it will pay dividends. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
It also means when he has positive policies to announce, he can lump that into the narrative as well. He can say, all right, we are the people versus the powerful. We have these things to try to improve your lives. If you elect Paxton and his corruption, they will make your lives worse. So every time he makes a positive announcement about some policy or some theory he's got, that also adds to the same narrative. He's rowing in the same direction no matter what he says. And that is a powerful political campaign if you can pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
Paxton's campaign, by contrast, it's also, well, actually not by contrast, it's very clear what Paxton's going to do as well.
Is the grand narrative, he's a vegan.
Yeah. Yeah, you've nailed it. No policies, no mention of his own record or achievements. 100% Talarico, 100% he's weird. He's a vegan. Every time we say that, it's on us to just reiterate, Talarico's not a vegan. He's not even a vegetarian. We'll talk about that more in a second. The less Paxton can talk about himself, the better for him. There's nothing he can say about himself that's a positive. So it's going to be the most negative campaign imaginable. I'm tempted to say the most negative campaign of all time, but that's not true because we've had plenty of 100% negative campaigns before. This will be another one. And then there is a long, proud tradition in Texas of defining the other side. It used to be defining the Republicans. Now it's defining the Democrats as weird. There's a very long, proud tradition. It's been going back decades. They're going to try and disqualify Talarico right out the gate. They do this every time in Texas. This is not new. I played you one of those assembled weird Talarico comment ads, like where they just put them all together, like the Voltron of political ads. Paxton's got 3 more of those out already.
Wow.
in like 4 days, he's got 3 of them out. Well, 4 in total because there's the other one. They've got like 5, maybe 7 or 8 if they're pushing grabs. And they're all from ages ago. None of them are from yesterday. They're all from like 2022. And they're just trying them out over and over again. That's a problem, I think, for them because Talarico is a good talker. You're giving him the opportunity to normalize those grabs. And some of them seem weird. They do seem weird when you see them out of context. Even in context, 1 or 2 of them are pretty weird. But you're going really early and you're giving him 4 months to talk at length about them, to explain them, and to seem very reasonable. And Talarico is a guy who likes to talk. He is not going to be Kamala Harris. He is going to go on every show. Every show. The thing that made him famous, I don't know if you remember when we first talked about Talarico.
Is that he went on Rogan.
He went on Rogan. That's what made him famous. And he's been on Fox News so much over the years. In fact, there are clips online of him getting along like a house on fire being interviewed by Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth trying to get him and Talarico just charming the pants off him and Hegseth having a good old laugh and having a good old time. Talarico is actually, he's a probably slightly less, I wouldn't say clever, but because he's clever in his own way, but he's slightly less academic version of Pete Buttigieg.
Ah, okay.
Who is just dynamite in interviews because he's such a quick thinker and he can just seem so reasonable no matter what he's saying. Talarico's exactly the same as that, except for he's a bit more hokey, a bit more like he's a bit more common man than Pete Buttigieg is. So that's good in Texas. So he's going to be out there doing the rounds and they're all going to play those grabs at him over and over and over again. He'll have all the chance in the world to neutralize him. And also, some of them are complete bullshit as well. And they'll become very obvious as he talks about them. Let's take one as an example. The veganism one is obviously a huge thing for Republicans. They're going very hard on the vegan talking point. This was Trump last week.
I'll tell you what I do think. I think the Democrats have a weird candidate. 6 genders, a real hit on Jesus. This guy is bad news with his mask from relatively recently. And he's a vegan. All of a sudden he's not a vegan. He was a vegan. Now all of a sudden he's not. Texas doesn't like vegans.
What he's talking about, this vegan
Sorry,
thing.
a loss of vegan?
No, vegan. It's his accent. Vegan.
Oh, okay. Weird.
Where this comes from is a clip that was resurfaced a few weeks back from 2022. That's why he's wearing a mask. And it's him talking about his campaign. Have a look.
We have, I think, heard more and more issues of animal welfare. I think not just because it's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do, but also it's, as all of you know, necessary to fight climate change. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption and that we try to respect animals in all aspects of society. And so I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign. So we are only buying vegan products from our local vegan businesses. Some of you may know Big Nona's. They were little Nona's, and then they opened up brick and mortar, so another Big Nona's. But we just got our pizza from there today. And so
the ABC does not endorse little or big Nona's.
That's right. I mean, his campaign was a no-meat campaign. That's true. But he never said that he was a vegetarian himself. I mean, that's a classic example. Well, we will come back to this as well. These clips are old, and there's no denying that back in 2021 and 2022, he was seriously left. He's pretty left right now. Like, he's up there for left. He's certainly lefter than you would expect from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his actual policies. He's a very left. But he was even lefter back in 2021 and 2022. Like, he was running on the progressive side of the Democratic Party by a long way, like really progressive. You know, as soon as he started to hit the big time, he stopped doing that. That's why all these grabs are 5 years old. Anyway, since then, every Republican in Texas has been talking constantly about veganism. So here's a CNN news story, for example, just playing on this narrative.
The photo op set for success. Former President Barack Obama with gubernatorial candidate Gina Hinojosa and U.S. Senate candidate James Talarico at a popular Austin eatery. Then Talarico ordered.
We have breakfast tacos. That's right, yes. That's right, too. I come here a lot.
You heard it, potato, egg, cheese, and no meat. In this state stacked with ranchers, the Republican governor pounced. Homie is not beating the vegetarian allegations, echoing past and persistent GOP claims that the popular young Democrat is vegan.
So you can see how when the Republicans talk about some kind of attack, they've got some kind of narrative, then the media starts advancing that by just talking about what everyone else is talking about. And that solidifies the narrative. And the Republicans are pushing hard. Like, for instance, Ted Cruz. The moment that clip came out, that originally, him in a mask, it's even better he's wearing a mask. Ted Cruz tweets out, "Watch, this freak wants to ban barbecue. That's not Texas." That phrase, wants to ban barbecue, been used a lot. Anyway, the Talarico campaign responds with this. An official statement in the form of a photo of Talarico slobbering over a giant chunk of meat that's way too big for his mouth while he's wearing the Texas flag as a shirt. That is their statement, the official statement from James Talarico.
I believe the term is called overcompensating, Chad.
It is, but you know, they love that photo. You think that's overcompensating. They've used that so many times. In fact, just this week, when Ken Paxton won and he mentioned the vegan thing again, look what they tweeted out straight after that, him with the same photo, eating the same chunk of meat.
If you want to prove that your candidate eats meat, I would have more than one photo of him eating meat.
That is a good point. But it's such a photo, especially he's wearing the Texas flag as a shirt. And the tweet said, "November, here we come." By the end of this campaign, the photo they use for his approval disclaimer at the end of his ads,
it's going to be that.
It's going to be that. It's going to be that. You watch.
Well, they're definitely not going to take another one, that's for sure.
I mean, mockery aside, the whole thing's just ridiculous. They are giving Talarico a chance to neutralize the attack by going so early. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, attacking someone for being vegan, even if they're not a vegan. Even if they are a vegan, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I could believe that could swing an election a week out.
Yeah. Hold on to this, guys.
Yeah, but 4 months out, especially when Talarico's as talented a performer as he is, I think it's a mistake to be going so early. I know they're trying to find him early, but I think it's a mistake myself. Anyway.
They could be holding on to something, though.
They could be, but
maybe he's got a tattoo of a Nazi eating a piece of celery,
maybe,
or a carrot swastika.
Let's find out. I'm sure if he does, they will know. What's happening right now is ironically what happened to Trump back in 2016. There are 1 million attacks of him from the Clinton campaign in like April. by the time November came along, they were old news. Like it just, so I feel like they're doing the same thing again. Like they're giving him a chance to neutralize and normalize. Maybe I've underestimated the power of meat in Texas. Peppers, you can tell me. I mean, Republicans definitely think they got a silver bullet here. They're just not shutting up about this. They've been at this for weeks.
Really?
Yeah, so I guess we'll see if they're right. I mean, Talarico's still ahead in the polls. Hasn't changed the polling.
Paxton must just be so bad.
He's pretty bad. I'll give you another example. The refugees quote, the one about the
welcome mat,
the welcome mat
door thing.
Yeah, the welcome mat on the border. Yeah, that's what we need. They always cut off when he says welcome mat. Why don't we play not just the quote, but him talking about the whole quote. And he says this quote all the time. This is on his stump speech. This is one of his favorite quotes. So them taking the quote out of context and cutting it off, that's not doing them any favors because he's going to say that as much as they're going to say it, but he'll say it right. So let's just see him talking about asylum seekers.
We should treat our southern border like our front porch. We should have a giant welcome mat out front, and we should have a lock on the door. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. You have a right to know who's coming into your house, and you should be welcoming the stranger into your home and providing that hospitality.
Do you think Democrats have put forth that kind of policy so far, though, to hold both of those at once?
Clearly not well enough, because we lost the last election partly because of the issue of immigration. So no, I think the Democratic Party has got to validate the desire for public safety. I mean, I've said before that we should be the party of public safety on immigration, on crime, on any of these issues, because Democrats are the ones trying to make government work for people. And not only does the government do public education and public health, but public safety is maybe the most important thing that the government does at all levels, local, state, and federal. And we should be that party. We should be the ones against chaos at any level.
So what he's saying there is exactly what the polling suggests America wants. They want secure borders, but they want to be reasonable and compassionate to people who are just looking to work. If you spat out a human version of a poll, he is the majority position. That's him. And the strange thing is, like, normally the Democrats, you go, oh, you're so poll tested, and like, yeah, you're Chuck Schumer types. In this case, he seems genuine. He has been saying this forever. This is not a new position for him. But most politicians just don't do this with immigration, either Republicans or Democrats. They're really, really bad at just saying what people obviously want. And I know this because what people obviously want is what I've been saying on PEP for the whole time, over and over again, yelling till I'm blue in the face. And politicians never seem to say it. I don't know why. It's so obvious when you look at the polls, but also happens to, in my view, happens to be the morally correct position as well. But,
this is why all the peppers behind your back call you Chaz Lichafrico.
I think this is going to work for him. I think the refugees thing is absolutely going to work for him. I think he could not be more backed by polling on that.
Wow.
And especially in Texas with Hispanics everywhere, Hispanics are going to be the key voting group. I wouldn't be publicizing that if I was Republicans. I think every time they publicize that quote, even out of context, they are doing him a favor. Another thing worth noting, I already told you this, the clips, they're ancient. They're old clips. He's not a gaffe machine. He is very controlled in what he says. If he wasn't so warm and friendly in his presentation, you'd accuse him of being too programmed because he doesn't make mistakes.
Wow.
Like he's got that Buttigieg vibe about him. He just does not make mistakes. The extent that he used to be left wing would be a problem, I think, in Texas for him to run for Senate across Texas. And that would be a huge problem, I think. But he's gotten smart. He's still left. Don't get me wrong. Even by Democrat Party standards, he's still left. He's populist left. He's Bernie Sanders. Like he is on the left, but he's pulled himself back from the woke sort of the cultural left. He's pulled himself back from that, which he used to be on as well. But he doesn't do that anymore, and I think that's good because that would be suicidal in Texas. I don't think there are going to be new clips. I think they've got all the clips they're going to get. And they'll just keep on repeating them over and over again, and they'll just lose effectiveness over time. If there were new clips, if he does make mistakes, then they can build their narrative. He's a threat, he's weird, he's a freak, all the rest of it. But if he doesn't supply them with that material, and I don't think he's going to, I think they got a problem. And I think as time goes on, it's going to become more apparent. I think the strongest time of their campaign is right now. And I think that every week that passes, it's going to become staler and less effective, I think. I'm sure, by the way, there's one more step for them. They haven't got to it yet. The weird church. The church is coming. Like, remember when they get to the church, I told you it was coming. Like he goes to this super left-wing church that interprets all left-wing politics as being dictated by the Bible. And I don't mean feeding the poor. I mean abortion. Like, I mean all the things that you go, well, there's no way the Bible supports that. They say it does. And Talarico is happy to argue that if people want to take him on, he'll be quoting Bible passages at you saying, the Bible says that abortion is perfectly fine. And he'll explain why. And he's pretty good at it as well. But I mean, that's never going to work. He's not going to convince Texans that the Bible supports abortion. But they are going to focus on the church because the pastors in that church, they don't talk like Talarico. They're going to find someone saying something that Talarico is going to...
And they're going to put a photo of Talarico giving that person a handshake and, hey, that's the entire ad done.
Yeah. They're going to want to do something like that. That's coming because if you can't make Talarico do the work for you, get someone else who can do the work for you. I mean, unintentionally.
But am I correct in saying that Talarico was part of the American Presbyterian Church? It's one of the two American Presbyterian sects.
I don't want to weigh in on the actual religion because I just don't really know much about religion. That's Dave's turf, not mine. Whenever I see something about religion, I just skip past it. Dave will talk about that.
Well, what Dave did say in this episode is that remember what sect or denomination Trump's parents raised him in?
Yeah.
It could be the same as Talarico's.
That's exciting.
We'll have to look into that.
We'll have to get Dave to weigh in. The other advantage he's got is that he can talk about religion in a way that Paxton cannot. So
he can talk about religion. His wife divorced him on biblical grounds.
Yeah, he can go through 10 commandments and go, I broke that one, I broke that one, I broke that one. Yeah, Paxton doesn't do religion at all. And so that neutralizes the culture war aspect a bit. Like which I think that helps Talarico as well. And it's also, by the way, the reason Christian conservatives really hate him. Like Christian conservatives hate Talarico more than anyone. They hate when he talks seemingly convincingly about abortion being sanctified by the Bible. They hate that. They hate that so much. They see him as sacrilegious. Yeah, it's like when he talks about the God is non-binary thing, like he'll quote passages at you, and they hate that. But they're not the ones who are going to be voting for. They're not going to decide the election. It's going to be independents who don't give a shit. So, yeah, they can hate him. That doesn't matter. Anyway, other than all that, he's going to keep it his message. Trump's going to keep adding to his corruption compilation to add to the narrative. And Trump's going to, if the high prices persist, that will add to the narrative as well. And I think over time, Talarico's campaign is going to work better than Paxton's campaign, especially given Talarico's going to have all the cash in the world. He's a great fundraiser. So we'll see how that works out. So the bottom line is, you might think that this is me saying Talarico's going to win. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I don't think the campaigns are where it's at. I agree with Dave. That when people see these weird sound bites, they go, oh my God, oh no, he's going to lose by 20. No, I don't think so. I actually think in the end the campaign's not about. They either neutralise each other or Talarico might slightly be ahead from the campaign. I think it's basically going to be nothing. I think it's going to be a level playing ground in the end. I think the issue is the numbers, the prevailing electoral wins. So let's look at those numbers quickly. Trump won by 14 points, Texas, just 18 months ago. So you'd think that's impossible. You can't make up 14 points. Harry Anton thinks he can.
So take a look. Texas Senate polls in May of the election year. When you matched up Beto O'Rourke versus Ted Cruz was up by 7 points. He was clearly ahead. But look at the polling average now when you max up Ken Paxton versus James Talarico. It's actually Talarico that's ahead by 4 points. And Johnny B, I was looking back at every single Texas Senate race that I could find, and at this point in the campaign, James Talarico is polling better than any Democrat in at least 24 years. Again, just look at these differences right here. Okay, Texas GOP candidate net favorability. Ted Cruz's net favorability was actually plus 7 points in my average polls. Look where Ken Paxton is. The complete inverse of that. He's 7 points underwater. So look, again, you just look at the numbers. In 2018, Democrats had this dream of turning Texas blue. The numbers didn't support it in large part because Ted Cruz was actually decently popular. But Ken Paxton is anything but. In poll after poll after poll, he is underwater. No wonder Republican senators are running scared.
In actual fact, Beto O'Rourke literally never won a poll in 2018 that was collected by Real Clear Politics. Not one. The whole 2018, not just up to now. And I did tell you before that Paxton hasn't won a single poll collected by Real Clear Politics since January. So the polling is much better for Talarico now than it was for Beto O'Rourke. Beto lost by 2.6 points in the end when the generic vote was Democrats plus 8. That is, for the whole election, Democrats plus 8. Right now it's Democrats plus 7. So it's pretty comparable. And the Democrats are more likely to turn out this time than they did in 2018 because now they've got a more midtermy type demographic. They've got more educated voters. They've got they've got richer voters than they did back in 2018, and they're the people who turn out in midterms. Also, Beto O'Rourke only won independents by 3 points in 2018. The Democrats are dominating independents at the moment by double digits, even in Texas.
Wow.
So there's the numbers suggest he's got a decent shot, Talarico. And this is an amazing statistic, this one. According to the New York Times, Hispanics at the moment are showing Democrats are ahead by 30 points. That's not Texas, that's nationwide. So Hispanics are different in different states. So we should just put that proviso in. But nationwide, Hispanics, Democrats are ahead by 30 points on Hispanics, 54 to 24 right now, which is better than Joe Biden's margin in 2020 when he won. It's almost Hillary Clinton's margin in 2016. And I think off the top of my head, that was 32 points, not 30 points. So it's getting into the Clinton territory. If in 2024, Kamala Harris had matched Hillary Clinton just amongst Hispanic voters, that's it, just amongst Hispanic voters, and the rest you just kept the same, she would have tied in Texas.
Wow.
And right now, the Democrats are really close to Hillary Clinton Latino numbers. That's an interesting situation. The generic vote in Texas, I mentioned this before, has Democrats at 50.7% according to Strength in Numbers. So we're talking 50-50. Basically, I think that's where we're at. I think we're in a 50-50 contest right now. Are things going to look better for the Democrats in a few months' time? I think they might. Doesn't mean it's going to push the numbers better, though. Also, a lot of these are national numbers we've been talking about, and I just want to reiterate, Texas Hispanics are not national Hispanics. Those numbers might be a few points off. At the end of the day, we don't know, but my guess is this is going to be really close. And it's going to be based on the fundamentals. It's going to depend on what happens to inflation over the next 6 months. Hispanics are famously sensitive to economic concerns. Like as a demographic, they vote often along economic lines. Yeah. So let's see what happens to the economy. It could get better. Like if the war ends in the next week, which there's indications that it might, if Cuba doesn't happen or it happens real fast, and if Trump stops self-sabotaging, that's a big if, and the economy gets a little bit better in the late summer, who knows? Paxton might pull it out. If it gets worse, then Talarico might pull it out. But I think right now it's based on fundamentals and it's anyone's guess. What I will say is, in terms of how this will affect all the midterms, this much is sure. John Cornyn was one of the Senate's most prolific fundraisers.
Yes.
He raised more than $400 million for Republican candidates over his career, and Paxton is a terrible fundraiser. So you're replacing a good fundraiser with a terrible fundraiser. Also, Paxton is going to be a huge drain of resources. They're going to spend the best part of $500 million on this dude. They're going to spend so much money on this dude that they wouldn't have spent on John Cornyn. And that's money that's going to be coming from other states. That's going to be coming from Ohio. That's going to be coming from Alaska. And the that's going to hurt them in all the midterms. So at the end of the day, even if Talarico loses, he's going to help the Democrats win by existing. I think this race is going to make it so much more likely that the Democrats are going to win the Senate overall. Not through Texas. I'm actually betting that Paxton wins. But I think that Patulta is more likely to win in Alaska because of this race. And I would say in my personal view, I would say the Democrats, I mean, this is based on nothing. This is just Gus, okay? There's no maths here. But I'd be giving the Democrats maybe a 30% chance or a 40% chance of winning the Senate because of this race. And without this race, I would have said, if it was Cornyn instead of Paxton, I would have said maybe 20% or 15%. Like, I think it makes a difference.
Wow, that is significant.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get into some few updates. And then I'll finish off. Vaping corruption. Yeah. Marty Makary. He resigned as the FDA chief a few weeks back. That's the Food and Drug Administration. And at times, there's a lot of speculation about whether he quit or he was sacked. It's possible it was effectively both, because the same events caused both sides to want to end his appointment, potentially. Let me tell you about the events. First of all, this is what Trump had to say at the time.
Ask Marty Makary to resign, sir, or did you fire your FDA
Well, I don't want to say, but Marty's a great guy. He's a friend of mine. He's a wonderful man, and he's going to be off. And the assistant, the deputy, is taking over temporarily until we find. Everybody wants that job. It's a very important job. Marty's a terrific guy, but he's going to go on and he's going to lead a good life.
He
was having some difficulties. You know, he's a great doctor, and he was having some difficulty, but he's going to go on and he's going to do well. Everybody wants that job.
So that very much suggests that he was sacked. Before I go into the main point of this update, I should say we didn't get the time to talk about this in the previous weeks, but this actually is a pretty big deal for people who are worried about Trump's position on the abortion drug mifepristone, which I imagine a few peppers are interested in. Marty Makary was the strongest opponent of regulating that drug. The FDA chief didn't want to regulate it. The Christian right were really keen to get mifepristone either banned or heavily regulated. They were pushing an extremely shonky study that suggested that mifepristone hurts women, and so they wanted the FDA to restrict its use for the sake of the women. Of course, we all know that the Christian right are, first and foremost, worried about the welfare of pregnant women. We all understand that. Anyway, Marty Makary agreed to review the safety of mifepristone, but he didn't say exactly when that review would happen, and it still hasn't happened 18 months later, and I'm pretty sure he filed that one in the round file. I don't think that was ever going to happen. But now there's a chance that the next FDA chief might take those people more seriously, and the FDA might not be so kind to mifepristone going forward. Especially relevant given it's in court at the moment as well, in the Supreme Court. So that may become an issue because the FDA chief has resigned, Marty Makary. I'll just note that. Let's put it this way. The pro-life Senator Josh Hawley said Makary was, quote, uniquely destructive to the pro-life movement. He attempted to place pro-abortion lawyers in key positions. He slow-walked a vitally necessary review of the abortion drug mifepristone. He used his discretion to approve a new abortion drug when the data shows it sends 1 in 10 women to the emergency room. He froze out pro-life leaders and repeatedly stonewalled Congress. His resignation is an opportunity for the FDA to reset. Okay, so it's important we note the abortion thing, but that had nothing to do with Makary sacking at all. Trump does not give a stuff what the Christian right thinks. He knows he owns them, and so he was ignoring their concerns. This was about vaping. Back in 2024, Trump, as part of his push for the vote of young men, made a thing about saving flavored vaping, is the way he put it. I'm going to save flavored vaping. It's an explicit promise. Makary has never been on board with that.
Wow.
This is him back in May 2025.
These are designed to get kids addicted. And there are kids in America today
who are addicted. They know they're addicted. They come from good families. They're good kids, and they can't stop. And that is something that we have to address. There are high schools in America now where kids are saying half of the kids in high school are addicted to these vaping products. So we cannot get burned again like we did on opioids and Vioxx and other things where the problem is so far down the road, it's hard to undo some of the tragedy. And so this is a top priority for this administration, for this president, for this secretary, and for me.
I don't know if there are high schools in America where kids are saying half of the kids are addicted to these vaping products like he claimed. If there are, those schools have misinformed those kids, because that's bullshit. The reality is, according to the CDC, 5.2% of high school students in 2025 reported that they had used e-cigarettes at all in the past 30 days. Not being addicted to them, used them in 30 days. 5.2%. Okay? So the addiction numbers...
That's low.
It is very low.
Well, I thought it would have been higher than that.
It used to be.
Ah, okay. Right.
Vaping's gone right off. Back in 2019, that same number was 27.5%.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That sounds like what I would have imagined.
Yeah. So since 2019, it's gone from 27.5% of high schoolers to 5.2% of high schoolers have used it in the last 30 days.
Huh.
And the addiction numbers obviously will be much less than that again. So I doubt there are schools where half the kids are addicted to vaping.
That was according to the kids.
Yeah, according to the kids. So he's totally wrong about that, but he seems to be quite sincere in his wrongness.
Yes, no, he cares about vaping.
Yeah, and look, and I imagine there are probably a bunch of peppers who agree with him. I mean, yeah, I'm the libertarian. I'm unlikely to, but I imagine there'll be heaps of peppers who go, yeah, let's not create problems that we don't need to create.
Yeah, if the kids want to vape, let them vape.
That's what I say. But I'm not trying to push that. I'm just saying that you might find Marty Macri quite sympathetic. He seems for real to me, or at least on vaping. He's a true believer in both cracking down on vapes and allowing mifepristone. So these are two things that that Peppers might be pretty cool with. Even when e-cigarettes started experimenting with age verification devices, because these are computerized, they can connect to your phone, so you can do all kinds of shit with them. And they actually experimented with you having to age verify on your phone before you could begin using a vape for a session.
Hey, Dad, can you sign into my e-cig?
Exactly. But even when they did that, Marty Macri didn't want to have a bar of them. He still didn't want to legalize it. Huh. So then we hear during the first weekend of May, Trump meets with representatives from the tobacco industry who give him an earful about how the FDA is treating vaping products. Trump comes over the top of Macri. By May 5, a couple of days later, the FDA has reversed course and were now approving the flavoured vapes they had previously blocked. And Macri apparently, we now know, wanted to avoid having to justify the vaping changes to the Senate because he had a hearing in front of the Senate the next day. He said, I don't want to defend this. So he quit. Also, Rich Danker, the chief spokesperson for HSS, he also quit. HHS. He also quit. That's health. That's the health department. He wrote that senior HHS officials had pushed for approval of e-cigarette flavours that would ultimately harm children. So that was a story we had until quite recently. Like I said, there's a blurry line between being sacked and quitting in that instance.
Yeah.
Because I think they both weren't happy with the status quo. The update's this. On April 30, only 2 days before a Reynolds executive, Reynolds is a tobacco company, a Reynolds executive and 2 Reynolds lobbyists met up with Trump at his golf club. Reynolds American threw $5 million at Trump's super PAC. $5 million.
It really doesn't feel like much.
That's a fair bit.
It is?
It is. There's a fair bit. And
I'm spooked by all the billions now.
Yeah. And 2 days later, they meet up with Trump at his golf club. And Trump according to the New York Times, Trump actually rang Macri in front of them right then and there to complain to Macri, and Macri didn't pick up the phone.
Huh.
That's a power move. And we know what happened after then. We've already talked about that.
Yeah.
Then Trump came over the top anyway, and then Macri quit. That donation definitely shed some light on the whole situation, I feel.
Yeah.
So there's your update. Yep.
Oh, I just wonder if someone from the conservative right has looked into what vaping might do to pregnant women.
That's a very interesting question.
I guess we'll never know.
Another update on the Presidential Records Act. Remember, the DOJ came up with a lame justification for why Trump could just destroy all his records if he wanted to. They said the whole Presidential Records Act was unconstitutional and Trump didn't have to follow its regulations about archiving records for the future. A federal judge ruled the DOJ's wrong. Trump does have to comply with the Presidential Records Act. The quote is, the original public meaning of the text of the Constitution, canons of interpretation, Supreme Court precedent, general principles of property law, and almost 50 years of a practice confirm that Congress has the enumerated power to regulate presidential records under the property clause. Which leads us to a correspondence from Peter. It says, the outcome of a lawsuit about the Presidential Records Act literally has zero bearing on what Trump does, even if it ended up at the Supreme Court. He's immune from prosecution for anything related to presidential records by definition. And he can declassify and pardon anything and anyone involved in the destruction and retention of records. There is nothing that can be done to maintain scrutiny, which was the only hope of any accountability, even if there couldn't be legal consequences. You're a downer, Peter. Sadly.
So it says Mr. Ice Chronicles Chaz.
Well, when I'm not talking about immigration, I'm a real chipper guy.
That killed me that whole hour and a half.
We had a few comments going, Lucky, are you okay?
No.
And I only got halfway through them. There's more. Sadly, I actually think Peter's right. What he says, Trump would be immune from anything to do with presidential records under the Supreme Court's decision. He could pardon anyone who broke the law for any reason. But even though you're right, I also think you're wrong, Peter. I think you're wrong to say this doesn't matter. 2 reasons why I think this matters. 1, unless Trump is hell-bent on doing something like, say, building a ballroom or excusing the January 6s or something horrible like that, he does actually, in practice, generally follow bright legal lines. Where it's blurry, he'll push. But where it's a bright line, he actually doesn't break them often, unless it's something he's obsessed with, like one of his hobby horses. That's no protection at all when he really wants to do something. But that provides some protection because there's lots of things he doesn't care about.
Until he wants to.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying no problem. But what I'm saying is Peter's suggesting that Trump is just completely going to ignore the court and just do whatever the hell he wants. That's not the case. If Trump just has an impulse, goes, oh, why don't we do that? And they just say it's illegal. He says, okay, fine. And he moves on to something else. It's just his hobby horses he'll just steamroll the law on. Which is not, I'm not saying that's great. I'm saying it's not nothing. It's something.
I think I want to push back because he can make anything his hobby horse. And we've heard before him say that the only thing stopping him from doing anything illegal is his own conscience.
Yeah. Look, it's true. And I want to emphasize that. It is absolutely true. If there's something that says that Trump's not going to allow something to hang around that is going to send him to jail for 20 years or something. That's true. But there are billions of documents in the government. Trump might care about, 100 of them. That's leaving a lot of documents. We're talking about historical records here, right? So, and that's important. That's not nothing. I'm not saying it's ideal, but I'm saying it's not nothing. Peter's saying it's nothing. I'm saying that's not true. Secondly, and this is most importantly, Trump has the attention of a goldfish. He doesn't do
that's true.
Actually much at all. It's his staffers that do the work. And they know, he can pardon them. And if he pardons them, they'll be fine. Do they know he's going to pardon them? Will Trump give us stuff about them when it comes to for down the track time to pardon? Some of them, they'll know that for a fact. Yeah, Steve Miller, he knows. But others go, well, does he care about me? Do I matter in the scheme of things? Maybe he cares about me now. Maybe he won't care about me in 2 months' time when I'm when it's time for pardoning. Like, do I know for a fact, even if he says he's going to pardon me, that he actually will? Do I trust him to keep his word? Is he going to forget he said that in 5 seconds' time? And that's important to these staffers. Would you bet your freedom on Trump's remembering or caring to pardon you? I'm not sure I would. So, they're not going to explicitly break the law, the staffers, unless they know they're going to be okay. Some will know that. Some will be so loyal that they don't care. They'll do it anyway. But you can't tell me the very real threat of jail time hanging over these staffers aren't going to make them second guess before destroying records. Of course it will. And so, once again, I'm not saying every document's safe, but I'm saying it makes a difference. Saying, the court case makes no difference. Bullshit. It makes a difference. If it didn't exist and there was no restriction whatsoever, I think an already lawless administration would be considerably more lawless. But we can disagree. We can agree to disagree, Peter, if you wish. Another update, border peace. You might recall the border peace, which was going to sort out the Gaza situation. It was, according to Trump, potentially one of the most consequential bodies ever created. Well, the EU, the World Bank and the UN have estimated it's going to cost about $71 billion over the next decade to rebuild Gaza. Tall task. The border peace has had a decent head start, though. Lots of rich countries pledging.
Yeah, you only need 71 countries to pledge themselves onto the board.
That's right. They got their $1 billion life membership fees, don't they?
Uh-huh.
Well, we've had explicitly $17 billion worth of pledges. With $7 billion from life membership fees for those joining the border peace already, explicitly, and $10 billion from America. The FT gave us an update on how the Gaza peace / rebuilding job's progressing. In the official Board of Peace Fund being administered by the World Bank, do you want to guess the donation level that's currently saving Gaza?
Does it start with million? I'm putting it at $500 million.
I'll give you a clue. It starts with zero. Literally $0. Not even Trump has put a solitary dollar into his stupid organization's official fund. Now, we do need to be fair on this one.
To be fair.
There is another account with JP Morgan that has received some donations, apparently. We have no idea how much money is in that account. Has no transparency, no reporting requirements, just how Trump likes it. And it also says how much you can rely on that account.
Yeah.
A Board of Peace official told FT that the Board of Peace will report its financials to its own executive at a time deemed appropriate. It's been 4 months. Hasn't been appropriate so far, apparently, which is not to say that no one is donating anything to Gaza. The UAE has put $100 million to a Gaza police force. The State Department has put $1.2 billion of aid towards Gaza. There are other donations as well, but none of them are going through the Board of Peace. That's the key here. The Board of Peace is being ignored. It is effectively non-existent. It is as relevant as the Shield of Americas. And that is your update there. One more update. James Comey, his trial has been postponed. It was originally supposed to be held in July. It's been postponed to October 21. The reason is because they're trying to get the charges dismissed as being a vindictive prosecution. And they have some discovery requests to make in regards to proving it's a vindictive prosecution. And they're going to take some time because they're discovery requests of the Trump administration. Interestingly, the Trump administration hasn't objected to putting off the trial. And there's two things to draw from that. I think if they thought they were going to win this case, they would have a little bit more urgency about it. They don't seem to care to me. I think this is about the arrest. It's a classic Trump situation where it's about the arrest and the charge.
And the inconvenience.
Yeah, it's not about the result. I think they know it's a bullshit case. And so they don't really care. Just whatever, who cares? But another point, If federal prosecutors thought that James Comey actually wanted to assassinate the president, which is their claim, why would they have happily let him walk free 10 minutes after they arraigned him and then allow him to walk free again for another 3 months, potentially killing the president every single day?
Who knows how many beaches that man might visit?
How many shells he could run his fingers through. The whole thing is an obvious farce. It's obviously bad faith, and that's just one more example for you right there. But the trial's supposedly October 21. I don't think the trial's ever even going to happen. I think they're going to get it dismissed. But there you go. Which means we have run out of time and we still haven't got to the insider trading thing, which happens every single week, it seems. This is the new immigration. I am going to cover that in the next correspondence.
Okay. Watch out.
I think. It's sitting here. It's going to get covered at some point in time. For those who are hanging to hear me talk about insider trading, I'm afraid it's more complicated than you would like. It's not going to be the satisfying slam dunk that you were hoping for. I'm sorry. But until then, how's that for a tease?
That's good forward promo. They've trained you well.
Well, I am going to try and do a correspondence extra this week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we will see. Either way, I'll see you guys real soon. Till then, stay peppy.